good, everybody? It's King here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome to my long-awaited Power Scan tier list of the century. A Power Scan tier list that, like all, I hope to be the most passionate about, speak in great detail, definely, exquisitely, concisely, confidently, all that jazz. But since me playing Jedi Survivor, I have been on an entire Star Wars crave from old bussin'. I have been in such an infatuation, so much in a love rod, and most importantly, been more and more becoming a connoisseur, a greater fan, a greater indulger, a greater vet and all when it comes down to Star Wars. I have read so much, taken in so much knowledge, watched every greater piece of media, read every single greater piece of media, played a few different games, replayed some games, took in a bunch of different TV shows, watched so many videos, watched multiple different forms of talk of Power Scan, and I think now I'm confident enough to put together pretty much greatest sense of not only great array and long extraneous sense of, in detail, power scaling tier list dedicated to canon Star Wars. Maybe one day I can do Legends when I have gray hair. Joke aside though, with that being said, in this tier list, I'm going to be mainly doing the most predominant, well-known people I know I've took into consideration for some different characters that either I forgot about or didn't know, and a few different characters that might be unbeknownst to some people, considering again only the canon versions, most consistent, most confident, from all different runaround of shit. You'll see different characters of games, characters of TV shows particularly, and same time animation or whatever the case may be. It is all different runaround, different poor versions of characters and talks. There's a lot of things to be had. As always, I hope you guys will enjoy this video. I want to go ahead and say a few more things still to go ahead and most suffice to conclude. Simply put, I appreciate y'all for watching and supporting me. We're almost close to 150 subscribers with only 2 more to be had. So if you're new here, please subscribe. If you like my content, please check out my other stuff. Leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, where the case may be. Hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I make a video. I really appreciate all the support. I want to thank V, aka Val, my friend, for not only putting me on game with the peak, the bussin' game that is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, as well in concept and greater ordeal, with really putting me for the greater influx and enthrall, the encapsulation of one of the most phenomenal pieces of fiction ever seen, that is Star Wars. I'm a bigger fan than ever now. Got Star Wars posters in the cut. So I want to thank him. He also kind of suggested the idea for me to really go out with this tier list. I hope you guys will enjoy it. It's going to be very long. Hopefully not as long as I would think it is in possible principle, because I'm thinking this would be a tier list where I would need to record it in 2 days worth from talking live like shit. But yeah, it's a long tier list, a lot to go and barely talk about, right? Hope you guys will enjoy it. As always, like I said, enough with the long case, Martin Luther King speech intro. Time to go get into it. And yeah, so with the bottom tier, like I said, off rip, a lot of greater case of better stuff to go and talk about. But most profusely, staying every case of the way, the best say, is obviously within the title, as always, as this isn't my first rodeo, is question marks as no scaling for characters that are unknown, don't really have a greater shine of scaling to best say confident where at. I either just don't know for the preemptive set tier list, as I've added a lot of different new stuff and reformed this tier list that kind of already preemptively exists to incorporate the best, I feel like, and greater look around tale of, the Star Wars verse and canon to best say. But you can see there's a great plethora pair of not only, interesting tale of characters, but as well characters that most people just generally don't have to know about. So as you see at the bottom, we have old Master Yoda, out of Prime, Depa Barrera, Vadal or Yaddle, Ifkoff, a different point in time. You have Pongril, Luminara Udali, Umagandi, Adigala, Even Peel, Templar, Jogatsu Nu, from possibly younger old time, the 11th brother, who just barely has anything to dang near nothing of showcasing, Darth Viete, I don't even think I really know what that is, and then the personal guard of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Don't have any greater run of scaling I am just unbeknownst about them. I am ignorant about them. If you know more, go and speak your shit in the comment section down below. And as always, if you disagree with this tier list, of course, tell me why. But if you really hard grade, disagree and want to have more in-depth, cohesive conversation about, even debate me on, even educate me, if you will, I'm always open to that with my Discord being RPK3124. You already know where to hit me. And again, we can have a cohesive, cool culture, whatever record of the debate. Even if, like, again, as always, I have a lot of rightful plane of perspective to be had within this, but like any other sayings, tier list, or even discussion, I'm always open-minded to the different, not only opinions or capabilities of things. But moving up a little bit more, we have too powerful / weak to scale. Should be so explanatory. I have a great plethora of ghosts to nerf one note out of place of actually any actual consecutiveness with not only scaling or any actual arguments to be taken. And again, a greater, better actual display, like Darth Vader when he's on his redemption arc, aka Dome Head. Darth Vader, man's looking like Kratos if he actually felt old age, right? We got Portal Angle. We have obviously the ghost versions of Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Yoda, Lord Snoke, who I know in like narrative is supposed to be on the essence of this man Palpatine, but never really does anything really striking of that. I know he's feared, but I don't remember anything from the sequels, if I could even actually recollect anything good from those movies, because, hey, listen, I'm not about to have bias about the narrative, but my God, bro, the sequels be out here just fucking disintegrate any lasting greater efforts of brain cells, my nigga. Nigga, whole brain be looking like the fucking meat products of a fast food place, bro. Entirely degraded of any freshness, bro. Like, the movies barely even actually make a hard pressing order to really have this man of any intrigue or any actual detail, depth, or sentiment of salvage of power, or any greater sense of character. He is just so one note and off put, and I'm not saying he's going to be full flat out weak because of that, but I can't really say there's any real gravity to subject matter for where he could stand that's in a convictional versus battle setting in case of the context with this stuff here, right? Going on for consistency and feats. But moving up one, we have Cheeks being with Jabba the Hutt, should be self-explanatory. Might be an underground galactic case of, criminal warlord, but has nothing of greater substance matter. Maybe his son will be of something interesting recall, because he basically is Jabba the Hutt if he had compound V's and Geef and probably was birthed from a fucking female Shokan. But Jabba the Hutt is literally a Discord mod, so self-explanatory. Creature / fodder, we have the frickin' Outlander, Sand Raider niggas, you know what I'm saying? Still a little bit of something of worth, I guess, to call in a matter of being adversaries. We have the Stormtroopers, who should be self-explanatory to general standard fodder, even if they can aim or not. They are just one note off put. We have Tech, who's easily the weakest of the Bad Batch. A lot of his skills are mainly in the mind and obviously his tech. He's not the most skilled fighter, right? He's not really the most big, strong form of like actually engage and duke out person. He's kind of whatever off the books person. He's not the most really capable fighter physically. He's very much a gatekeeper. He's whatever little puny man in the grand scope of things. Again, it's not to disperse any goodness with Tech. I'm not trying to put diss on my man Tech. He's definitely one of the most crazy, ingenuitive, creative, intricate planner like niggas, you know what I'm saying? But all his power all stems from truly a man's greatest weapon, his small, too big organ and his thick-ass skull, but he is not of any actual worth in a fighting pit-for-pit compete standpoint. He's just lacking in so many different capabilities of actual fight that, again, he should even be a great case of matter of conversation. So, yeah, unfortunately, Tech is just one above the general casual fodder, right? Then you have Han Solo's friend. I forgot his name. Childish Gambino's arguably for a lot of people greatest role, right? But he kind of stood a little bit out in comparison to different like stances, people. He's not the biggest big fighter, right? He's very much convictionally a higher standard fodder, but he can at least do something of different worth. He wasn't really that much out there, and his personality tied with that just kind of makes him not really be the most standout dude in that sense. Then you have, I forgot her name, in the case for the one green race, she's the bounty hunter to try to go ahead and take out Cal, try to slime him. She's nothing of big worth. I mainly put her here because whatever mixed argument you want to say, being Cal being super suppressed, more or less trying to convince this shawty not to try to go and kill him because they were cool, and as well tick with the fact that, mainly from like a social perspective, that's the reason why this man, Boba, went after her, but everything that you can take from Boba in a dialogue considerably puts her as someone that is very valuable price because she is a troublemaker. She does do a lot of shit. So regardless, I think she's kind of like the Black Cat or Catwoman of the galaxy. She at least is somewhat of a credible fighter. And Cal takes her blasters as a great trinket weapon. So whether it be personal reasons, like I have a fond memory of this scoundrel, or having a great weapons, she should be something. And she just, by even having a boss fight against Cal, I'll give her the consideration that she does more than these niggas, but she's probably the weakest person Cal has ever faced, but it is what it is. But then we have Darth Maul and Savage Oprah's little brother, right? Even though he is seen in full counting to be the weakest, he was doing decently fine in different combat challenges, can at least fight to some decency, since wasn't so weak to where he could never try to get, some guts and fight. And he was killed by his older brother that was way stronger than him. But he's very much lacking in greater escapades of actually doing something. He barely has greater sentiment of feats. And he, in his own word, by different accounting, is not really a fighter. He's kind of a little bit clumsy. He's more of a lover. He has more perseverance in the idea of not being this dark, brooding demon. He has a lot more sentiment of optimistic-see and finance, of actually being like an actual good soul, and not being, even though it's not like a stained thing by race, not so drowned in the doubt of actually any sentiment of good, because obviously we know Darth Maul and Savage are like top tier edgelords, while this guy's a little bit more of the angel kind of like worms, for the family, while both of those are pillars of menaces, especially Darth Maul. Can't wait to get to our Crimson Black Dread. But yeah, like our infamous fucking, I don't even know what you want to call brother by skin tone, fucking onion, is not even of anything greater sentiment of work. So if you want to talk about his personality and him possibly leading himself to be open by playing into more of his kind nature, he can't get won over. But I think just in the life or death scenario, which is most of the context of these fights, I think in all regards, so people would just have higher scale of some combat regiment than them for what he's done, because he has survived for a very long time. He's not no bitch when it really comes to something serious. But the Magna Guards, right, they face greater running niggas, right, Jedi, hunters, battlefront people. They're top tier different veteran people. Takes a great deal of people to push them down, right? Obviously, there's some form of adversaries against Cal. They've been seeing different mixed kind of boss fight frontier standing. I think they give a bad batch to some other people. Some problems. They're kind of like the general up form, Megabots. Then we have the Bedlam Raiders. Should be self-explanatory. All type of levels of just porridge of not only annoyance and every new level of rack of all trades, bodyers of the player, depending on the difficulty that you plan on, which are the survivor. But in name alone, every other stance is basically like the galactic version of like the Vikings of For Honor. Whole new level of top tier gang up motherfuckers. These motherfuckers be moving like basically the galactic baseball furies. These are guys and or women that pain smoking be dishing out the most audacious hands and be reckoning on anybody, especially by all accounting by Ravis and Dag and Gara. They are very sensible, suitable, like militia guards and capable individuals. They are pioneer mercenaries, whatever flagrant type of means they is most prone to be. They are multi-dosages of pain to the most highest spike, and they be putting Cal most like through new ringers of a fucking headache, especially in that broken Death Star. That's probably one of the most annoying areas, to be honest. But besides like me ranting, right, the Inquisitors should easily have the argument for their statements for these different Jedi hunters, right, to definitely be pretty much second to their job and territory of being not only grade class studiers and trackers and hunters of Jedi, but any adversaries against the Empire. They're the secondary enforcers. They're very strong, very skilled, and narratively, even in like some different occasions where there are mixed boss fights dedicated to these guys, they are somewhat of formidable foes to common tier people. Granted, not too much, and there's not that much scaling beyond that, so you could put them higher. But I think anyone of actual greater skill transfer, because they have been defeated by people that are not Jedis and other people of that sort, I see them being just like that. The top of the tier should be obvious, pretty much a creature's imagination, all different frontier masses of different creatures, wicked proportions of beings, people that personify the absolute nightmarish terror of all the galaxy, all the run and fling of different, basically Skull Island creatures of Star Wars, all should be staying here. In this case, as being beings for these common tier different saints of fodder, that no matter which creature it is, they could not get past. Well, everyone above has every confident ability, to not only push past, but as well had different track record to be more than the general boast of mixed fodder, that no matter what their mixed scale standing could be pushed past. And this is where we get to apprentice slash padawan slash dark force sensitive slash apex shooter. This is obviously for the qualm of, again, it is an obvious by title, as you'll be multiple titles to brand some of these different tiers, as you're going to see, are people that are not only confident shots, capable people, utilize some different mixture, either mixed talk of the Force, and or maybe have some different side of the dark instance of the Force and Nexus inside of them. These people being Padme, fall alongside Anakin and some others, obviously very contextual boards, but she seemed to be a very decent, great, not only shot, decently, depth, tactically sufficient combatant, and even though you could say it's mixed bias because this is Anakin's boo, other people like Obi-Wan did see her as a capable stand-up fighter, and she was not somebody to underestimate in different quarters. Han Solo is one of the most revered, capable, build different shots. He'd be moving like Jack Sparrow. Is a GOAT and is a D1, not only headshot proficient, not only marksman, but every standalone tier of his own, of being one of the most crazy, lucky, and uncomparably fascinating shots, as Han Solo can be in any scenario and pop off different. He is the man of a blaster, right? Man has every level of apex shooter guaranteed in his veins, but unlike some other trained, greater proficient people like Admiral Thrawn above him, wouldn't be in that same presence of actually having the skill accolade, strategic mind, and depth, different pour of topic of discussion that really guarantees him to be unrefutably a built different person. Admiral Thrawn, right, in namesake, unironically, is easily one of, if not in just tier of not only intellectual mind, easily the most smartest, in-depth, strategic individual in the verse, but most concrete to say is that Admiral Thrawn is one of the most smartest niggas I've seen in fiction, and is a great, and not only planner, greatest of all in different accolade of commanding force, respected, feared, and is one uncomparably built different and different standing when it comes down to his expertise. And even though that does not hold the biggest weight in somebody's fighting contentment, because even with all that big brain, a lot of these people would just be stronger. But to give him his flowers, he's definitely somebody that, with his blaster, shot proficiency, and other skills, to be a very peak A1, rack of all trades, sentiment of individual, and in different cultures, could definitely probably stand as basically Han Solo with way more seasoned rep, and isn't just like an outlaw gunner, but this guy is pretty much like, you could even account as like Star Wars hitman again. Like, he is easily, this was like a tier of like mental, definitely high peakish stand, pillar of the mind, ambitious, cunning, in every record, and of not only the top of the line chess make stance individual, blue Carl Esposito, the nigga is uncomparably, it's a S tier lad when it comes down to different tale of like mind and specialties. He's just built different. But besides Megamon with a gun twitch, our boy Chewbacca, John Wick, big ass fucking woolly mammoth, fame, galactic, Bigfoot, not only showcased that if he wanted to, he could be like John Wick. His experience is built different. He's very physically strong. Has always seen in better handles than these people, and can take on boatload of people by himself with no care. And when he really wants to get on, because he's like the softy, right? He's a more cool, chill cat. He can just unload and do a lot of crazy shit. And he's pretty much like, I would account to be like comparison, definitely on the essence, to be every sentiment of being basically like one-shotted from Overwatch with the crossbow. His aim is pretty impeccable and strong, But all that skill and capability to be something wouldn't be too much for a record. Not only from his very superior, greater armor, his strength record is easily one of the most physically strongest characters in the verse at face value. He is a beast. He can take on rare monsters physically, which is something I don't think anybody except for like some greater force wielder or bounty hunter could really do. And he's taking on great deal of blows and still decently sturdy to them. Obviously, a severe great shot to a specific weak point that Crosshair, someone greater knowledgeable or could very much surgically peek out, would not be able to understand. But I think Wrecker easily, by all rep of his character, would just wrecking ball for people. Hunter should be here because their skill, Leader of the Bad Batch, is one undeniably built different person, has a lot of skills and technique, can turn, mix different kind of like chameleon cloak and camouflage, has a lot of ragdoll trades, means of expertise and capability, and has sold the show in different stand of being not one but arguably one of the greatest case of different field combatant sense of shooters and different occasions, and definitely in his inspiration in different argument, correct me if I'm wrong, does stain the archetype of that solid snake level of like movement. So yeah, like he should just be right there. Wolf is here not only because of his scaling mixed stand to Hunter and someone like this man, sharpshooter in a very much, physical mixed stance, right? But in comparison to Crosshair, is not accounting his name to be sharpshooter, being very much in every essence near that. Advanced senses, has a mixed talk of precognition. Comparison has greater not only foreshowing by being a guy that stood 10 toes in multi different outlets of battles that most people couldn't physically in all different formal stand do actually, but as well just in his skill and refined seasoned marksmanship and practitioner of gun stems, right? And other things along those lines, just being a very much adaptive grade A killer in multiple different lines of fighting makes him, just like some people below and over, be one of the most skilled and terrifying people on any battlefield or duel. Again, with advanced senses for vibrations, other case shit, knowing of guns, like basically the back of his hand, gunships or any other archetype of fighting. He's just one of the most experienced and just the most single-handed, build different case of people. And like in his name, has a killer instinct like never seen, is untamed, uncanny, unrivaled, makes different gruesome of a killer, and the only people to really outdo him are either people obviously having most uncomparable advantages or overwhelming just as much to greater sentiment of different shot proficiency, or depending on the confines of the battle, be over. He's also, again, physically very capable individual. Crosshairs here, I talked about him in way more in-depth form in my shameless plug, Why Widowmaker for his Crosshairs kind of close video. But pretty much Crosshairs is one of the most best, diabolically terrifying grade A shots. He knows the Bad Batch like no other. He's one of the greatest, not only great efficient clones of a different point in time, and he's a very much standing out in every sentiment of the way as the dead shot of the verse and a long range hypothetical potential shot. He definitely could be argued be the best shot under Cad Bane in different hypothetical potential. As a fighter physically, he's not that strong, he's not that capable, but I think just from his skill, every hack, every technology, every capability, he is way too whoppy-doo versatile and could just out-pressure anyone, especially because of how efficient different seize opportunity. And he has a lot of things that can disorientate, blow up, blow the cover, and put down people, and he's just so much out of the different line of like understanding for Wolf in a open field perspective that I don't think he could greater get around him. If you want to argue he could get close to him and do different mixture possible pressing him, then yeah, I think he could fully outdo him, outduke him in every aspect of, different gun form play from a pit for pit personal level sense of like fighting accolade. But I think no matter how you see it, being different qualms of physical form, again, outdoing him, outduking him in the shot, out entirely styling him, and out combating him from, again, a just fighting perspective. No matter if they went band for band with that, he still has every confident level in shot for shot standing to outdo him, like I said, and from all his capabilities to mix him up in a way that Wolf has only been able to see and makes different confines by his side, but not against him. And I don't see, even with all his adaptation and practicing, that he could actually full close the gap and beat. So again, I see Crosshair being more confident level to maybe beat him. But like mixed other case of characters, you can maybe argue it's a little bit of an iffy, kind of mixed matter of contingentment. But I think Cal Kestis, even with being hella rusty from being of the Fallen Order of the Jedi, should be over. Not only because all the skills that he's showcasing, greater sense of like post his time of being, a scrapper, not really doing too much, but the fact that he is at the end of the day at this point be a general standing of classified case of, Padawan, whatever mixed person, and is going greater experience run, but could just get around this stuff a lot more easier and does reciprocate and recount for his force training, his capabilities pretty early in the game, and this is pretty much basically start of the game, possible, different training arc and regathering of his skills, reconciliation of his greater inner spirit, going on his, spirit journey and recollection of his greater spiritual, not only attachments, physical, and all sense of mental, hardiness, all that shit, before Cal Kestis pretty much becomes goated. With all that being said, I think that, again, probably slates him as being over, especially because at the end of the day, he still has the rightful class of Padawan apprentice to propose that he's just beyond them, they were standing, and he was a very high potential individual. And by the credit of Gerald DePaul, if you want to say, it's like because Gerald DePaul was basically like his father in comparison, that he was still equivalent to being one of the highest class like sense of Padawans and potential. So I put Cal Kestis there. Moving up though, we have the next tier being High Elite Jedi / Sith / Jedi Knight / Sith Assassin / Apex Combatant / Force Sensitive. All that is obvious by everybody in the case of this tier is a standpoint of not only high caliber, makes different take people, a different skill regard, but as well being people in consideration that even if they're not the most experienced with the Force or lower individuals with Force, lightsaber, or any other capability, are still someone of very much presence of being not to be trifled with individuals that of course have great reckoning of some very much intimidating, standout mixed staple of power, capabilities, force usage, and or feats. At the bottom will be Rey Skywalker, pretty much post the case of her scrapping days and being just starting training within the Force, basically being equivalent to her father in the case of the New Hope, coming into what she does. Now I know because of hatred for Rey, reasonably so, and how she is, but the fact is that she was very much adaptive and numerous times showcased the ability to hone the Force in a way that hasn't been seen in a very long time. Was able to dabble in and out with different taking of it in a very capable way. She is a prodigy with it. Her potential is massive, and tied with the fact that Rey is just uncomparably seen with her different style of the Force for a starter, that she should be of packing great worth. And I just feel like because she is in better experience and not as rusty as Cal, that she should be over one note, but she's still at the bottom for a reason. There's also just the fact that she has somewhat, you could just argue from a narrative and mix very much consensus for plot armor or a Mary Sue-ish like argument to just be able, when she really wants to get on and pop off with different uses of the Force, can greater streamline, greater foreshowing of the Force and showcasing to where she, in a very spontaneous moment, can exert power and or usage of the Force basically akin to a highly classed individual, and probably have anybody in the stance of the Force because of the narrative and where she hails from has the highest premium standard of potential to be hailed, and again has some mixed dialogue experience with fighting and some decent counting of usage with the Force and a lightsaber, even if she is not that skilled at this time. Luke Skywalker though, started New Hope and decently getting training with it, showcased the same stuff but with a way better efficient training, was able to duke out and do better with the lightsaber, was decently a formidable fighter, the same just like her, and had a better, I guess, credibility and different argument as well with the lightsaber and his potential for where he hailed from to also stand more out. I think he stands way more better now because he has better teacher, better gathering of himself, and just does better. But as well, Luke just had a better sense of mental focus when it comes to a different record of his skill, while Ray and others in comparison are either so rusty and rely just on the basics, while Luke is a very much amateur Jedi. Like, he's just whatever makes sense to him of being on that caliber of a decently trained mixed height individual. So yeah. But next is Aurra Sing, the seeming like mother to mentor figure to Boba Fett. She's here not only because of the time and different understanding. She was very highly mixed take and respected individual. Shawty is one scary, attractive ass woman, I'm not gonna lie. And is built different sense of person when it comes to her different skills. Was highest in the mix of Boba Fett's sort of like crew, or basically like mercenary version of very much predominantly Guardians of the Galaxy as Ting. She, within name alone, has fear. She's very cunning, creative, and is more experienced, and has dabbled in different fights and different things of that sort. And I think just from every showcasing that she has, should just be a better record, right? The only way I could really see them get her on winning is if she lets her guard down and or plays kind of like dubiously arrogant to where they could poke holes in between her almost seeming more easy to access defense, but with her greater mixed skill and mix up regard. And just like this man Boba Fett, who she mentored at a young age, and Boba Fett was one of the most highest class, pretty much school shooter level archetype of killers at a young age. Like, his genes were so dominant, it was ingrained into his head to be pretty much a living armory before he even gained his father's armor and all these weaponry and shit. And she kind of seasoned that. So the fact that she was more experienced than a young fucking, you know what I'm saying, Boba Fett and all these different accolades, I would like to say, just like Boba Fett with others, that she could basically do what she does best, and that is make an absolute fool out of anyone that dares to trifle with her in random expectation. But then I have Sabine, aka love interest of Ezra, right here, when they were both decently young status, right? Her being very capable Mandalorian, respected, very crazy, wild in different escapades and proportions, be moving like a kind of like younger Boda Kuna, is a very capable shot, is very efficient, got great armor, sturdy, resilient, resourceful, and a rack of all trades, and just has better shining and different capable stuff than in comparison her, and has fought alongside multiplication members of the Star Wars Rebels group, and is just a very much, outstanding, combatant in person. Ezra should be here for obvious reasons, not only being greater sense of train in the ways of the Force and fully coming into his own as a very capable not only Jedi warrior, but as well respected and revered for being a guy that should never be trifled with in his greater mixed skills. He not only, at one point, besides the case of this man Kanan, was pretty much second to best of the entire group, was a very full-fledged, built different level of not only standout in his different skills, respected. Darth Maul saw immaculate potential in Ezra, and Ezra just has always been a guy tamed in his different mixture of usages with the Force. But his shawty with the Darksaber, I think, would just be over, not only because she used the Darksaber to very efficient standing to the same degree as others, but in a way that pretty much is like Ezra. She's way more terrifying with his capabilities. Ezra could not take out different outsourced people the same way that she could with the Darksaber, and ironically being just in the gene pool or simply because of her convictions, she's just way more ideally capable with it. Granted, you can say because of experience in the Force that he could be over, but because of how shocked he was with her, which you could chop up, because if your girl just started going to Terry mode, you'd probably be stun locked too. I ain't gonna lie. I just feel like, she's just better. But then Big Rex is here, not only because he was the second command right-hand man to Anakin, is a built different shooter, had a run with Cad Bane. He's one of the few people in the galaxy, like some others, to survive a fight with him. He's very capable, is a built different shooter, is way more experienced, has fought in multiple different grand scope wars, has actual statements looking into his files and bios as being one of, if not the best clone seen in multi different forms. And I would argue that he is better than the Bad Batch for multiple reasons. He's been in better fights, he's been in better stuff. It was seen in way more remarkable form, and is just better. He's better in a lot of ways. He's a built different shooter, and to me, if I had to say where he kind of stands, I would say he's basically like the Red Hood of Star Wars. He's a grade A shot and should be respected. Put some respect on my nigga Rex, in the words of my man V, right? But moving on, we have Sabin with obviously the Force now, mixed with the lightsaber, and Ezra when he and she are older. I would say that she's a little more out because not only harnessing the Force to a decent form, obviously she hasn't showed as much. So when we get, some more Ahsoka, that's when we'll see more. But I still think for what she is, that she's very much more capable. I think she would be better than she was with the Darksaber, not only because of different convictions. She comes into the Force, not mix back the negative side of the Force, or a kind of like Force sensitivity that is not the same, and it's just not, of the same equivalent. She also has better mixed tutelage and understanding of it than Ezra. She's way more experienced. She's older, faster. This is all this stuff, and I just think that's a better shining. Ezra should be here as well, not only because he's way more experienced, has been back-to-back training, or has better showcases, and has fully become, I feel like a more seasoned version of himself. And I think now would just be better. He also just got better feats, better talk of statements, and correct me if I'm wrong, has been technically in the actual chronologicalness of show to, show, and in the timeline been pushing 15 years. He just has a better stamp of possibly moving with time to say something. But next, arguably the baddest man in the galaxy at one point, Big Boba Fett. He should be easily here. I've talked about Boba Fett, my shameless plug, Punisher first Boba Fett video. But the famed J Bounty Hunter is just a walking armory. He's built different, skilled, trained, and all different archetype. His not only skills with all different forms of different weaponry and versatility is a halt for anyone here, but he as well, because of all his armory and all his different stuff in his inventory, is someone that nobody can deny is something very capable. Boba Fett as well, with the case of Zabrak armor, is just somebody never to even be penetrated on occasions, make it fly, whips, blasters, all crazy case of mixture of shit, scouting, sonar, mixed different visor, different argument for HUD, database, rocket launcher, very crazy adept, and all different escapades and capabilities. A very fierce fighter, and is easily to standpoint as a living tank. But Moff Gideon, full armored with his saber or different form of weaponry, I think is better here. Not he's a more efficient form fighter as well. Take of the fact that he still better to a form of not only I feel greater essence of not only armor, fighter, and counting as a person. Moff Gideon has multi-different run and different luxurious statements about being one of the most efficient, superior oppressors within the Empire, and is a guaranteed high-end combatant, and is pretty much what a Sith could be if they had all the arguments for different elite status of training. And ironically, me talking about, Admiral Thrawn being a Suicito, right? We got literally Galactic Castillo over here doing work never seen, and using the Darksaber to greater efficiency than anyone below. So I would argue that here he should stand higher end than that. But then you have famed shawty that not only tag along different arc of bounty hunter, explorer of different not only combatanship but other things along those lines, but a shawty as well for shot definitely stands one of the most unparalleled case of not only dynamic credit of not only being highly elite factor of shot proficiency in ways that could even be understood for a lot of different people below, but as well because she had a run with Cad Bane that even though it's very much situationally stapled of kind of being just a runabout, in and out shot for shot standing, the fact that she has different tech, awareness, skill, great sufficient armor to get around. With me, now, we're getting her name because I had her name on the top of my fucking tongue, right? Shawty still easily, as you see, is someone that can never be put down. And the fact that, again, she hurt Cad Bane, again, very much situational form, is a very capable shot, is very superior than in comparison to other people, is the best, arguable female bounty hunter besides the famed Bo-Katan, which I'm going to get into her, and is standalone standpoint for being one of the most highly capable, strong in every factor of different fighting escapades, and even though, again, she doesn't stand out so much like a sore thumb, like Boba and other people, different knows, different debates of things, she has, within riding along with them and had her greater different, not only explore and highly, I guess, explosion of different character involvement and accolade for in proportions of different shot and gallery upon gallery of different, standing for people, to be one of those people in the galaxy in different regiment, to be so high class veterinar with the shot that she's kind of on the same custom of what it would mean to pretty much be the, pretty much, if I had to make an example within her standing, unironically, to be moving like Sonya Blade out here in different standing of fighting skill, prowess, and gunsmanship, to where she is easily one of the most dangerous bounty hunters that nobody can say is in a high stance of threat. Again, with her armor, makes her a ultimate, veteran off rip, to be able to utilize an armor at face value that is not the most really stand out-ish or capable. It still stands to the highest credit. And again, unlike some other people in comparison to the bottom or some others above, actually had a better run-in with a very high-class instance of shooter and was able to outshoot someone like Cad Bane, who, again, I'm going to get to, but outshot a nigga with literally precognition. It is absolutely insane, to say the least, on where that is. And with this being said, hold on, before I even go more, because I ain't gonna lie, no, because I do have Cad Bane. I'm hoping that I don't fuck my shit up with doing this, but I'm not gonna lie, I just realized that I don't even have Cad Bane on the tier list, and he should. I'm obviously not gonna redo his in part, but for the record, I'm gonna explain where Cad Bane would be. Is unfortunately I don't have the GOAT. I'm hoping I could backtrack with this without doing something dumb, but just give me some time for a second. Hopefully does not fuck this up. Right? Hold up. Wait a minute. Okay. Hopefully doesn't fuck it up. I'm going to explore where Cad Bane goes in a minute. I forgot to go in at him because too many different characters. You guys are going to see that. But yeah, hopefully it stays. If not, well, I have to redo it. But continuing, we have Jango Fett. Jango Fett is easily acclaimed as being, at a time, the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Boba Fett, you could chop it up to bias, respect, where the case may be, but is always seen higher standing. Jango Fett is a feared, respected, and highly classed individual shooter. He's pretty much, to me, I would consider a different accolade, the mixed dabble of the blood sport and great A marksmanship fear standpoint of like Ultimus Prime of the verse. He is so much of a high apex built different combatant, literally and figuratively, that it is an understatement for how great complex of a fighter, shooter, and build different crazed individual. He has a way more superior, way more heightened and advanced version of Boba Fett's armor, way more high instance of their capabilities. With his jetpack, he pretty much soared through the sky like Superman, and was a build different high fly off the handle shooter that he dual wielded at so much infinite concession that you would think he was basically galactic Edward Kenway. And Boba Fett is knees as good. Cad Bane says he wasn't as good, and yeah, like he's just always built different and should not be a guy to ever, in the fucking slightest, be trifled with. But next is Mandalorian, aka Mando, aka Big Din Djarin. This is with him having the Darksaber as base equipment. Mando is a very credible, capable, built different fighter. Mando is so good that he's on the same respect lens as Boba Fett and other Mandalorians. He has statements about being one of the most capable Mandalorians there, had different run and standing with different fame, not only Jedi and capable people, was able to push past this man Moff Gideon with not only Beskar spear, weaponry, and armor. He's a very capable fighter. Is multiple debates to be high stand. I've talked about him before, and my shameless plug, I'm going to keep doing this because I've talked about Star Wars a lot, because my friend likes to see people lose Star Wars characters. You fucking goon for violence. Anyway, like I was saying, right, Mando. I saw, multiple accolades of him being crazy when I talked about him, beating Soldier 76, but Mando should be just evident being built different. Obviously, he doesn't use Darksaber as good as others, but the fact that he can use it to some decent sturdiness and standing, he's way more experienced. He's better armored than other people that would wield it, and as well is very capable and dynamic with it. I think he just has a better principle to best people, and even if he doesn't use the, Darksaber like off rip, he should just be better, and he would best people. Bo-Katan is here without Darksaber yet. And not only because of her skill regiment, besting a bunch of different runaround people, is said to be pretty much the best Mandalorian at a different other point in time. Has a lot of different showcasings, able to outduke and bulk up this shawty Ahsoka. Is very vicious, brutal, unrelenting, unyielding, a different level of bad bitch demon time energy. Was able to fool around and outdo and double time level of pretty much outwork different people and different timing of fighting. She's a very crazy clutch up individual. She's fast, very crazy and different versatility. It's pretty much Boba Fett with a way more seasoned array of different things. Has so much different great case of experience, is very radically built and adjust to any case scenario. She outdone this man Mando. She was able to fight in multiple different politic parts of different warfare, and as being the princess and fame, not only pretty much wicked shooter and different standing as combatant and highest held person within the Mandalorian, will pretty make, not only for certain her to be one of the most astoundingly built different people in the verse, but in combat for Mandalorian, probably besides the mixed argument for Mando and Jango Fett, possibly the strongest, especially because she basically moves around like the katana of their race. So yeah, and this is just her without it, because I still think that she will be able to outdo anyone with the Darksaber in comparison, except for a higher person, because of how more useful and prone she is. And she's the only form of not only Mandalorian in person, besides another person that uses the Darksaber like it's basically in tandem with her right arm. She uses the Darksaber akin to an HF blade. It's like basically wielding a kitchen knife for her. But with this fucking kitchen knife, she's shredding niggas apart. She's built different, and yeah, there's no argument, I feel like, to say that she shouldn't be here. Next we have Kanan Jarrus. Is this a Jedi Knight, aka pretty much before Kanan fully taps into his greater potential. I think he should be easily here, because not only his skills, his regiment, his favement, and as well likeness in comparison to people like Yoda, others, his statements, his talks about pretty much being a potential to be the next coming of like an Obi-Wan mixed individual, his narrative stand, the fact that even when he doesn't have a full unlock of his greater potential and tapping into his greater skills, he's still very much revered, counted individual, and is also just always honed as being a very, suffice to say, always stand out wielder of the Force, even if he does not have the greater clinch of the greater really in-depth, intricate ties of the greater nexus of his power. He is undeniably so, I feel like, seen, especially in the Rebels group, to be one force to be reckoned with, no poor intended, for him to be some jobber, not the best sentiment of user. He is rusty and doesn't have the same acclaim as other Force people, but it just shows how untapped potential he really has in every correspondence. And he is a hall, a flame, not only, I feel like, user of it and greater potential because of just how much snapping he does, and as well, his character arc to that point. But besides the narrative, right, his whole Hall of Flame, like greater tale of that is great. But even in, again, with no repetition, Hall of Flame usage and other form of that, he really be getting in his greater usage regardless of any potential or not. A very much high flame and build difference, saying since a saber user that he can clash with the greatest of the greatest and still have some mixed standing, and he's just definitely up there as being one of the most grade A like combatants to be said in different tale of Jedi knighthood. It solidifies the Jedi code on his back in multiple occasions. He really got that dog in him. So yeah, like Hall of Fame user of the Force, whole Hall and Flame, build different level of sturdiness with the blade. But someone like Ala Sukra would be a lot more better. Not only because of a better station of Jedi was in the High Republic days of the Jedi of their peak, stood against a greater monumental force and overwhelming collide with different, not only, greater accolades and frontier masters, a very detailed stance soldier, and stand tall individual, and is not a person to be, again like others, to be mixed trifle with for no repetition or tedious talk, but in fundamentals and style would just be standing on a better essence of claim of like hone and skillfulness with her stuff. And I think the only way you could say that can now be over is you think he can better harness that greater fuel of drive to kind of like always press past, whatever mixed underlying force put against him physically and spiritually. But I think she's just way more secure on her essence of force yield and case of like skill depthness and things along those lines, stuff like that. But Shinhatsi, or people like to say Shingyatsi, Hatsi, y'all niggas weird. Joke aside though, like it's like Shinhatsi, not only being a princess Padawan to this man Balin Skull, should be easily one different acclaimed fighter and fierce opponent, but as well being this skilled, basically coming to greater Sith origin, makes her be someone not only to be feared and strikes that in every sense, but easily gives every definition of like that scarlet, acidic, demon drive of every feel of not only killer instinct, depraved energy, and will put anybody in a box that gets in her way. So yeah, like she just is something else when it comes to all those skill factors. But then you have Bo-Katan with the case of the Darksaber, and to just be pulling a whole different skill echelon, right? She's already greatly skilled without that, but the fact is that again, her different defeating of different people or mixed different ascension of like kind of seeming different prowess is in very contextual means, requires a lot of different in-depth planning. She's still just pit for pit, is again very great a skilled, but a lot of her different mixed occasions of defeating people or doing this and this requires her to be on the upper hand. And even in the pit for pit scenario with no contradiction, she has every value of being of greater sense, and she is definitely a shawty that relishes in Blacker Force energy. But with the Darksaber, she gets on a whole different sea sentiment, because like I said, she wields this bitch like a kitchen knife, but she got a fucking dark fucking HF blade. She's just built different there, and so should entirely quick seize, samurai slice anyone down for the count. Barriss Offee, being either as a Jedi or coming into Sith, should be obviously is respected by Ahsoka, is seen in great valuable light, is a very capable individual, and is somebody that multiple times I feel like spearheads the arguments and capabilities to be someone of very ridiculous light and argument, to where in this sense that not only she would stand at way more greater standing than all these people from her teachings, regardless of the light or dark side, counting for her mixed standing with Ahsoka and to her. And her potential is basically seen as, without spoiling it, I guess you could say the Star Wars from a mixed Jedi and Sith order on the same essence of basically being a kind of mixed Thaddeus, or even like for an Avatar mixed reference, a kind of mixed standpoint of being a mixed dabble in all essence and escapades of what made so much of a fly off the handles level of threat. And Boom Man be so special because Shorty has bombastic movement with the Force and radiates every record hold of a very cathartic demon time stance of wielding, and is pretty much Ahsoka in comparison to rivalry if she went in more dirty fighting mixed essence. I mean, this shawty was moving crazy with her shit, and I've never seen a person use their lightsaber in the same one-handed mixed string of the hand level usages. This shawty could pretty much pull a virtuoso on you, and you wouldn't even see it coming. Next is Darth Maul. At the end of his tenure, this is Darth Maul when he's old, tired, fatigued, has so much context for being tired, rusty, and battered, but even with that, was confident enough to give a little bit of a mixtape fight to an Obi-Wan that wasn't going all out, wasn't doing the most crazy shit, but still had a little stance of being something. He showed a great deal of unrivaled fury and great deep seeking of wrath, and as well hatred to be let out, that I feel like in a fight as being not only way more experienced and more capable, even if he might not be as much strong attached to the Force, capable of argument even at this time, he still was a capable master and knowledge person, especially in comparison to Ezra, that I think he gets the reasonable claim to be here and way more stronger. But Obi-Wan, right here as a Padawan, right, aka pretty much pre-fight with Darth Maul at the Duel of the Fates, would be here from not only all strong sense of like, showcasing, right, but kind of in every aspect of his being, to rescind my statement most concisely to say, like I said, most strongly showcasing of being able, right, to stand 10 toes against Darth Maul in very much contextual mixed settings, outduel him in some different mixed arguments, pit for pit bang with him, fight alongside his master and decently keep up with them, even if he was getting put on the back foot and kind of had to catch up a lot of the time. We know that he beat Darth Maul because of his hubris, his arrogance, and for a lot of context, but he still stood very highly acclaimed as not only being a unrivaled, uncomparable level of Padawan, and is one of the greatest shinings of what a Padawan's greater coming into Jedi Knight skills are. He was very respected. Qui-Gon Jinn believed in the ability to fight Darth Maul. He said that this man was one of his best students and most remarkable record of people. He has multiple talks and statements, even though it might not be on the same level as Darth Maul, wasn't entirely uncomparable to somewhat of Darth Maul's kind of trippy or farming mixed escapades. Again, I think he would be way more greater because there's a mixed different shining of scaling, tail of that, and a mixing of being not only, again, very remarkable Jedi, Padawan, and even Knight, but his mixed custom of being like a guy that was kind of stepping into his greater elite regards, puts him very soundly there. Now we have the big man himself, CB, aka Cad Bane, the gunslinger of the galaxy. Fame undeniably so, unrivaled, uncomparable, uncontested, undisputed, top tier apex combatant, the greatest shot in Star Wars, pit for pit, ain't nobody like him. He outshot Boba Fett, caught the nigga lacking, took out multiple runaround of people, put the fear of anybody in their eyes when he shot with them. Has caliber and rounds so explosive, he leave motherfuckers having the most dang near seeming like cracking of your whole fucking chest cavity with one shot. I'm talking the dude popping out straight up bombs out of his shit. He unloaded the most quick fly off the handle stance of movement. He moves in tandem with his blaster, faster than the speed of light and perception. That nigga clocked the nigga so fast beyond his comprehension, and his comprehension should be one note mixed arguable boosted because he got advanced senses, meaning that he could see through every instinctual vibration and other essence of being. And this nigga Cad Bane was so stylistically beyond him that he deemed a nigga like that out of commission just like that. He is feared, respected, and renowned for every record form of being an unloading, unyielding, undeniably so built different killer. He also was able to fight a better Obi-Wan and was able to stun him. He has a bunch of different trinkets, hacks, capabilities, flamethrower, got, blunder's chains. He got multiple different mix-up of blasters. He's good, with not only multiple forms of adaptation, not only against anybody, right, that comes his way, is he able to, dabble in multiple usages of things, but like I said, with again, no repetition, just the full homo solidly, solidify my point, is that with Cad Bane being able to be so good in adaptation, right, and adaptations of different combat, that he could pretty much make anything in this scenario his weapon, making him more or less the galactic bullseye. I mean, Cad Bane be popping off like Justice from Afro Samurai. The nigga's built different. And the fact that he's good with a lightsaber, he was able to outbox Obi-Wan, stun him with electric charges. He got bombs. He can fly, right? He can hover. I mean, the motherfucker's, galactic cowboy. I'm sorry to spam it, but Cad Bane is built different. I almost thought about giving him his own tier. The dude's just a very radically built different dude, and because he scales to greater people, greater mixed versions, he's put in a higher standard. He knew about the legacy of this man Jango Fett more than him, was seen in higher standing than him, has duked out with people that are on similar regard, but some people might think better than other mixed versions of this and this character, and in comparison, Jango Fett getting nefariously decapitated elevated by this motherfucker Mace Windu, and Cad Bane being so good with what he is puts him in a higher standing. And again, he's so adaptive. He has so much great adaptation and very miraculous resourcefulness, high rack of all trades, build different, bulletin board, great A sensor shooter, that he is the king of the blaster and is unequivocally, unparalleledly unrivaled for his ridiculous just tackle of different occasions like it's nothing. Cad Bane is one built different, shot for shot, proficient nigga. The ultimate gunslinger, the man that stains fear in every corner of the galaxy. Remember the name, the GOAT Bane, the bane of your existence. The gunslinger with one flick of his wrist popped so high off shooting you would think you got hit by light itself. Goddamn, which technically in a way you do in technical case you do, but a laser technically photons and shit, but not like the dude's just proficient in every essence of a fight. And again, sorry for the kind of like oversaturated mixed glaze, again trying to give everybody fucking flowers, but he is full of the case of not only skill for skill built different, but it's just again someone not to play around with. Then we have Kanan Jarrus with his full potential. Fully pops into a Susan Storm, unloads the greater realm of not only his fourth potential and capabilities, is a way more high keen swordsman, and just with all his tricks and greater hacks and coming into the ultimate, standpoint of a high elite Jedi wielder to the fullest, I think he would just absolutely fodder, full-fledged flatline and or clap multiple people in ways that they could even counter in greater sense truth. And I think you could argue, because of all the skill accolade that I put with this man, Cad Bane, in mind, that he could maybe try to strive around all his mixtures, but I think Kanan is just so much more greater violating, with the case of the force powers in a lot more unique sentiment of way, that any occasion when he tries to get around, he'll just kind of pull out some different Adam Eve level of mix-up maneuvers and just kind of more and more pressure out Cad Bane or anyone else of similar standing, especially because in skill and swordsmanship, he should just be as skilled to even higher standing, because now he can rock out with different mixture of different combinations from the force and be one with it in full solid hone. But the three characters that would be a lot more higher than him for the same standard of reason would be Anakin, conflicted in multiple forms, being in the case for his starting off conflicted in comparison against not only Obi-Wan and a mix of Padme, but as well his drowned in not only sorrow, great deal of agony, self-guilt, regret, depression, and any other corner of this pretty much being so dissolved of any sense of like moral and mental strength. Two key things that fundamentally base the entire, archetype and or, build of a Jedi or even mixed Sith to fully cultivate their greater strength. Not even though he is severely not doing good in his fight and is shined multiple times, stained in his words, said by multiple people in the script and every accolade of, topic of discussion for where Anakin's mental purpose was at and how he came to be where he was, and still feeling a great deal of turmoil in his actions. I mean, my nigga literally killed children, right? The dude had no grasp of really what was the right path for him to go on and felt so conflicted in all different confines of disturbed from his actions that, again, even with that, his skill is still, I feel like, on a whole different basis than these people. He wouldn't feel conflicted as much as he was fighting his close ones and or trying to kill them, and wouldn't really hesitate, I feel like, to kill these other people. And, Anakin's still very skilled, but because of his, mental, state and spiritual state and physically not really considering every other aspect of what makes a true fight be of warranty and not fighting actually with a great sense of headspace, and kind of some occasions I would argue from a visual setting fighting almost like a fucking headless chicken, just kind of just waving around his blade with every just random berserk out of this world level of relenting sense of rage that he has no conductive actual greater brain cells to actually cube into play to actually course about the better sense of fighting stand that people, even if you want to say are not truly better than Anakin, have every better capability because of their better sense of understanding of the grounds of fighting, and the Force could have every argument to best them, but this is kind of where it makes argument that these versions of Anakin and Kylo Ren being over are very debatable, because all three of them are conflicted or mixed sides and divide of, the Force being with them, the dark side, the good side, moral ethics, emotions, love, even things along those lines. It's a hard course on all of their minds, to where you could say they could mix dabble, be as high as I would put them, where you'll see, or kind of be a mixed strike of being very mixed, or we say. But again, because they're conflicted in their entire mental state, that's where they are. Then you have four members that represent pretty much the High Republic at their higher end standing, being Keith Trinis, Arvar Chris, Stalin Guros, and Elzar Amani, all representing the high elite standing of Jedi of the High Republic, the best record possible swordsman and acclaimed people, and people that in comparison, Dagan Gera Cal Kestis, another different higher institute of different possibly becoming the master Jedi, Sith, dueler / force wielder, as you see in the higher tier, will come into. That is when we get into the higher tier, and this is where obviously we get to a lot more debatable and probably a lot more angry possible position for a lot of people. Starting at the bottom, we have the third sister. The third sister doesn't really have too much. I would say that she's mainly here from mixed case of title of being obviously Inquisitor. She snuck up on the Grand Inquisitor and didn't really do anything to him, and he got up and it wasn't even any significance, and at the end of the day she snuck him. She barely had any actual, showcasings of greater merit within the show, and was more just a random condescending, brooding, very smug, kind of alienated from everyone else of different known of the Inquisitors that kind of have better sentiment of actual character, personality, and even actual value of actual threat. And you can shout out to the writing, actress, whatever you want to say, because to me at core, it is all around a core writing issues, because I love Star Wars, but I could talk about writing in a different video. We could talk about that. That's besides the point. The fact is, and I still think it's peak, the fact is that Shawty doesn't even have anything, and she barely even said anything of actual gravity against Darth Vader. She was getting entirely flung, getting tossed around like a fucking rag doll. Shawty was literally getting used as like a pillow and just getting smudged almost into the ground, and was trying to whop that air. Like he was breaking her ankles while having bad ankles himself. That's crazy. But even with that, I still think she has every argument to be over. Again, from the class, title, mixed standing, the third sister having some acquiry of some greater merit of skill, and she does seem to have some form of some decent semblance of actual power consumption and or dabble in things. She just, again, doesn't really strike hard at those core things. Now, Luke Skywalker, though, right? When he's over here pre-fight with Darth Vader, this is before he loses his hand, right? Would be here not only from the greater grand scope training, his arc, his capabilities, the fact that he was standing to a Darth Vader that even though wasn't whole full fight greater A conflicted like he would be when Luke fights him at his end of his pretty much coming into himself, fully succumbing to the full legacy of the Chosen One, right? Luke Skywalker was still given a mixed every stance of a fight. He has multiple talks and statements and narrative hell, being a very much more coming into his greater glory and stand fighter. And Luke has always just shown out the prowess and potential to be ultimate pillar stand of goated when he really wants to. But the main thing that pulls him back is the greater skill, capabilities, experience, and other things of that sort that puts everyone else a lot more above him. But I think for everyone else in comparison here, from confliction, not as being as much skilled, not fighting as much of a built different fighter like Darth Vader, would give him a better accolade, arguably just like that, to kind of more to finally say that he is in a better holding and host of bar for skill mixed stand. And the fact is that he is still very much capable, proficient stances of warrior with the not only lightsaber training, but in different pool of the Force. It obviously is not to the same proficiency that you could argue people below, or in the same tier that he can have contingency to. But again, I think there's a very strong format of scaling stand that he could have the mixed argument to be in this mixed argument, right? For being a very capable, indirectly not so soft, but not so high proficient case of instance of Wilder. He's a very solid tier grade A, combatant in the greater sentiment of the force wielding, and anything pushing backwards, again, his experience, not being to, the same capabilities others, and just not being on the same tick for tick striking of that incomparable, impenetrable standing of fighting stand that others are. But next is Soul, for being classified as, a decently hailed master, fighting against a built different menace in the stranger and surviving, is a very highly class since a matter of, killer, great fighter, force wielder, stands pretty, I would say, octane is different sense of like fighting spirit, and basically is what I would like to classify as the Arno Dorian, or the pretty much higher end dueling assassin mix up warrior of the case of the Jedi, and his different trickle, different greater tangle of not only fighting escapades and caliber, is a very capable fighter, and in any scenario his kind of unconventional mix-up dabbles of fighting makes him, to me, give every classification of being the unrivaled kind of predicent on every bar of the line of a fight in such a way that makes him be so much of a whole different dimensionality of a fighter when it comes down to different poles of like, fighting usage and things along those sort, which pretty much to solidify the whole point on is the fact that, again, because he fought a great minutes that we're going to get into, and the stranger survived and tangled with a bunch of different people and dabbled in multiple hone of fighting skill, even with his mental conflictions or other things, make him in comparison to others, even if he maybe not be the most high-end experienced Jedi warrior, convictionally and ever since confidently a high esteem mixed different standpoint of warrior and different grand scope tale of pit for pit place, to where I think he has always shown, predominantly so, that he wields the mixed title of greater essence of the master for a reason, and is one impeccably willful standing fighter. He got a lion's heart in every count of his stand. He got a soul of gold, right? I faced these Jedi before. Face that. So, yeah. Next, Queen Voss, Big Woman, is very physically impeccable, right? Is a colossal, not only grade A dueler, has a bunch of different take of experience, is a very efficient fighter, can flaunt, hands with anybody, is able to counter out multiple people with different mixture of her physical strength, greater halt of not only force strength, but mixed with her very brutal, really greater, how should I say this, gargantuan mixed take of size, and fully capitalizing on every mixed standing of kind of gladiatorial barbaric essence of fighting. She could very much bury, boulder, more easily kind of brush a lot of different mixture of movement of people, and unless you're a lot more higher mixed standing of skill or having faced the same mixture of people on the same level as her. And Queen Voss has fought a lot of great instances of people, was one of the more higher mixed standing cases of not only, Jedi mixed warrior woman of different forces, and is built like She-Hulk on actual steroids, because She-Hulk is a lot more naturally instance of built. She could just kind of like, just cruise through a great instance of different people, right? But then Jarl Tapal is not only seen in high respect gathering by multiple Jedi in comparison to the Order, mixed with, again, you could say biased by Cal, but as well other people, especially Seer, who I think meant every word when she said that Jarl Tapal was one highly acclaimed, high caliber fighter, was skilled in almost every duet of skill play. He taught Cal Kestis almost every greater stinging, greater matter of skill that he would learn not only in Fallen Order, but different mixed tricks and turns of events in Jedi Survivor. Jarl Tapal was respected by the Council, and, just got a lot of statements talking about how basically he's someone that stood 10 toes top of the game and different legacy withholding in the matter for arguments to reach new star standum for skillful accolade, and even though was a master teacher, hold a, obviously herald and student to his standing, he obviously wasn't as most highest greater institute of skilled masters or knights, but I think he easily gets the argument for being a guy that is so skilled for multiple reasons that you can very much preference him to be a guy that is undoubtedly so one of the most skilled case of not only Jedi masters and wisdom holders within the verse, and I would like to say kind of gives that same essence and take of being pretty much Master Roshi at a younger time, of being one of the most undoubtedly so build different technique and formidable form of opponents like never seen. Is definitely someone not to trifle with. But again, all that is endabbled from what Cal Kestis has said, because I'm not gonna lie, I was this close to not really putting him on here, but I think he's kind of stood himself as being one highly respected to be acclaimed master, if he wasn't like a grand master or a higher master of the Jedi's like some of these other people are, right? So yeah, but next we have Marin, the Night Sister, the Ghost of Jedha. I think she really may stand to be here now because of how she's been in different ranking of the Night Sisters. Has very crazy sorcery, different mixture usages of not only magic, fighting skills, follow along Cal, and very mixed, dubious, kind of arguable stretch of really standing, but she was able to physically hold back Bode for a second, was able to keep up with Cal, should scale to Cal, different speed and reaction. Cal says she's a very admirable and physical, very much like, capable, sensitive person. She be scary in different essences occasions when she can haul off different bases to different people, can survive different attacks from Bode if we go by gameplay, can strike very much, in very unique different aspects because she can teleport. She'd be a very annoying person, and she is pretty, like, I would say, high essence of what it means to be all over the place, cracked in different aspects of sorcery. But because she, again, physically is not the best, greatest standout showcasings, it wouldn't take that much of a problem for someone like Bode in comparison to anyone else in that same tier to very much stand higher in because of her skill, not being on the same level, better physical showcase on their part, and the fact that Marin kind of has a flimsy mixed flick around a different scope of like capability, right? Like she obviously was like a mixed different respect by like Terra Malakos, I'm gonna get to, in other cases of people, right? But never really struck anything out like a sore thumb like others would. But moving on, we have Ravis, our famed purple Vilgax. Ravis, I've talked about him before, right? Shameless plug of mine. That was first Ravis video. Ravis is a big rock boulder of a man. With his big mace flail, can rock view from multiple different cases of directions and has great range with his big ass blaster. Is durable as hell. His armor seems to be hella resistant to lightsabers, akin to Beskar. He has regeneration. He's very capable and built different. He's resilient himself. He's able to physically hurt or at least push back Cal. He has taken on multiple Jedi at once. Dagan Garrett thought he could actually take out Cal, which you could say is biased because it's his friend, there's loyalty. And there's even a level of the fact that, like, Ravis being the leader of the Bedlam Raiders, being able to put the fear of God into Cal. And Cal does talk about Ravis as being one very intimidating force. He's very dangerous. He's stronger than a Knife Sister physically. So, yeah, Ravis, he's very fucking strong. And, like, a lot of this is counting from statements because we don't have that much from him, but I think there's a great take of like scaling and the fact that he did take out allegedly a lot of Jedi brothers and sisters just to be fucking imprisoned, right? They didn't even kill his ass. I think this proves that he's very much a pinnacle, high pioneer, warrior, and fighter, and definitely of his race is probably going to be one of, not the strongest like person of his race that we ever seen. Like he's just built different, right? But Terra Marcos is not only an very skilled, revered record holder of not only Jedi skills, is very in-depth in different usages of the Force, can pretty much use it akin to an earthbender. His telekinesis is used in a very high-octane sense, very skilled in both dual wielding, and is very much rightfully so a high reckoning of every greater skill archetype and standpoint than any other person. The Knife Sister should be here not only because she has multiple different crazy capabilities. She'd be way more experienced from her fight with Cal at a different point, but even then I still think Cal would defeat her, right? She obviously wields the helicopter mixed double wield blade. Is very capable of multiple different usages. She's physically kind of shown as not only, one of the most biggest threats to Cal and other aspects of people. She's very large. Is built like a BMW 36. I've talked about her before as well. I think no matter if Revis, you could say in physical mixed standing is more physically stronger than her, that he could never be as physically dominant as Night Sister, not only with force, but if it collide. She has not only stood very high in different training regimen and gauntlet of the different, not only Night Sisters and Night Brothers, took blows from different very skilled mixed people, was able to survive an attack from the fifth brother, even if it was in mixed context. She with her cybernetic limbs is still very powerful. She's resistant to a lot of different mixture of pain, resilient, capable, very strong, has a very stern mind, different culture, and outdoing and outbesting, and it took a greater case of mental and personal knowledge for Cal Kestis to actually be able to make her go off her guard, because she didn't just run at him like that being enraged. She possibly could have stood longer. The Night Sister is very capable. She has precognition, sonic sway, and is just very fucking enormously built different, and is easily physically the strongest out of this order and could bench a lot of niggas. But the second sister should be easily over. She said it'd be greater. The Night Sister said that, she's the boss, she's in charge, she's of greater standing. Darth Vader says that she's one of the most skilled, adept case of warriors of not only the Brotherhood, she has second sister in title. And this is a joke that I'm gonna greater kind of like speak about, and like this chain scaling, hailing from obviously Jedi Fallen Order to Survivor. But if you think because she's the second sister that I named, she should be a lot more higher, then she goes here, or depending on how you feel, Cal, all these niggas, there's this whole tier, it gets all the way up here to like General Grievous, and I'm not doing that, not only because they have no feats or scaling on those same tier levels, but they're just not doing anything of greater matter of not only statements to really articulate that besides name. And I believe in full sense that I should maybe explain this with the third sister, but I don't want to go on a whole yap session about the third sister even more. But simply put, the names of a lot of the Inquisitors, except for the Grand One, is really just that. They're just rank. They don't actually establish power entirely. Their names should be considered, but they shouldn't indefinitely rep every archetype of skill. The second sister should be respected. She should be accounted as being a person that hails from great, standpoint of skill, capability, other things. He's one of the greatest of the Brotherhood. Seer Judah saw her as a very high sentiment of threat and outworked Cal and made him look like a fool, not once, not twice, but almost 3 times. She's a very skilled instance of individual. When you can arguably say, on an argument for who did Cal struggle the most with in all counters, Dagan Gera, Bodakuna, or second sister, or Trilla, that she easily has every sentiment to be one, if not the most skilled, bang for bang, paw for paw individual Cal has faced. But even with all that scaling chain, even with all her force usage and her very high capable Lancelot fucking, essence of the Emperor's champion dual standing, that she shouldn't be of that higher merit. And even though I think she's one of the most capable, proficient fighters that Cal has faced, there is an argument for someone like Dagan Gera to scale higher. Now, Cal Kestis here in Fallen Order should be self-explanatory post the game. He's either be one of the most built different case of coming into New Age Jedi warriors, coming into Jedi Mastery, built different, best a lot of people, a lot of hacks, a lot of mix-up of different capabilities and fighting prowess, is very skilled, and has went beyond the level that Jaron Tapal and either ghost or theoretical mental perception has ever went for, and he definitely has become a greater hospitable, not only Jedi, and has rebuilt the lineage, I guess you could say, for an all reasonable truth of what true Jedi is supposed to be. And I cannot wait to see where our GOAT goes even further. But when we do go into his next game, we meet Dagan Gera, who I've talked about a little bit in my Bodakuna, versus battle video, shameless plug again. But Dagan Gera easily, multiple scaling talk as well with Cal Kestis against Ryan, shameless plug again, right? He is literally seen as being one, if not the best, at one point of the High Republic Greater Grand Scope Order. He's very high end in a lot of different showcasing and boards of skill. He is a very not only radically, wildly complex, versatile, all level of wicked with his stuff. Like, it's an understatement to say how influx of hats and wild proportions he's able to just pluck out like Magic Gathering cards. He's able to dispatch so much different hostile overtaking and porridge of not only mental strain, physical pressing, and has every aspect of capability to hone the greatest dabbles of all different forms of not only skillful display and tackling in his mixture of fighting prowess, that even without an arm and just having a gravity-fueled arm on some Heimdall shit is one of the most dangerous, uncomparably seasoned level killers and proficient demons ever seen in any encounter against Cal. He is none other than any other person, a highly, unrefutably rack of all trades, splitting edge, cruiser, dominator, decimator. The dude is every standpoint of what it means to be a highly reckoning rival in every escapade of what it means to be a not only Jedi Master, to even in hypothetical potential, if he fully fulfilled his plan, Grandmaster, and is one of the most dangerous out of this world crazed fighters. And I think in this force skill that he has an argument to be just as, if not in like base common usage, as arguably Cal, like on some nice sister shit and Trilla stuff, had to go about using personal, mix different mental nudging and different aspects of that, and kind of use different ways to conflict these people, to pull these people back, you know what I'm saying, to a more grounded opening mixed state. And obviously Trilla was conflicted, the nice sister went off her rocker, and Dagan Garrett tweaked out. But Bode is a whole different demon. Bode, the ocelotl of the galaxy. Bode, goat kuna demon, a man that is played by a goated actor that unfortunately had to see die when he went into Ghost of Yote. It's been out for a while. I don't care. That's a spoiler. The fact of the matter is that Bode Kuna is a built different nigga. That motherfucker is easily, physically, hypothetically, the most fucking annoying, absolutely uncomparable, contested nigga against Cal. Overpowered him so many times dubiously and laid the fucking marking of a whole new level of bruising, battered, put the nigga in a chokehold, swooped that motherfucker through the air with one hand with the force like it was nothing. We never seen anyone do something like that. And Bo not only has the standpoint of being one built different, unchained, unrelenting, crazy instance of a fighter, and even though Cal was mentally conflicted, pretty much outduked and more effortlessly just outstriked and outbested Cal in every case of the way. He's the best shot Cal's ever seen, and this guy literally is the same person that knew Seer Judah, who even though wasn't mixed tandem with her force different instincts, was a very great ace skilled shooter. So the fact that Bode is that good of a shot makes, to me, even if he didn't use the force, be a very great ace shot that could probably be maybe not as good as Cad Bane shot for shot, but is very fucking good, right? He got his jetpack. He's built different. Like, Bode is a crazy skilled individual. So, again, you know, this is kind of a debate on who you think is better. You know, Trilla, you know, these people, you know, you move Cal around for Fallen Order. You know, you say Dagan Garrett is greater than Bode, then he's there. Or you think Bode is the greatest. I think Bode is the greatest because not only because, unironically, using narrative, he is the final boss. He is very powerful. He's the only person, because Dagan Garrett didn't do this. We obviously don't tap into the greater case of, the dark side because of greater personal conflicts. Or we've seen Cal be greater pushed into the dark side and kind of shoved into a darker array of emotions. Bo did that from a lot of context, but the fact that Bo was able to make Cal push himself into the dark side off rip, he could have used greater force tactics. He could have used different things that arguably wouldn't beat him. He could have used the spirit of their force people and used different mind control, precognition abilities and different things. But Bode, no matter what he did, was outdoing it. And Bode even arguably was outdoing him in different steps of the way. And only because of Mixed Bag the Dark Side and an argument from him getting 2v1 in a lot of mixed context did he get beat. Don't get it twisted. I still think Cal defeats him because obviously you guys see where he's at. But I hope I'm making it clear that these guys are so relative that you could make very much pick and choose arguments where they stand. I think Bode's just there. I think Dagan Garrett is better than him in different mixed argument. And I do think the funny joke that me and my boy V came up with was like Dagan Garrett figures out that he's a Jedi and Bode's like, well, the jig is up. They'll never find your body. Well, you know what I'm saying? I think it's just funny as hell to think about. But, besides, the menace over here, the true menace is the fucking stranger. Now listen. I've never seen a Sith be a literal fucking human blender. This nigga needs to get locked up. He's the Melania of the verse. That nigga has armor that if a lightsaber touches it, disintegrates, decays, fucking entirely melts the laser, destroys the greater actual real assault of the weapon. He is one grade A skilled person, has no name but deals the most impact. Gamma Jack of the verse, pillar of power with the force, unrivaled, uncomparable, untempered level of cruising capabilities. He's able to turn his fucking lightsaber different attachments into 3 different unique sides. He's able to use his shit with grade A telekinesis. All of his body, dang near, is a weapon. He has multiple parts of his body with the armor, mainly being the bracers, different mixed knee pads, a belt, maybe chest, and his helmet. And it's good as shit. You can't put him over Cal. I think Cal's over, mainly because of the fact that Cal has showcased great skill comparison. I think he has too many different attachments and versatility to where I think he could push past his armor, hit him in spots that he can figure out ways to get past. I think he's very skilled. He could tap into the dark side and outdo him. I think Cal is one immensely powerful and even tenacious warrior that he can push past that stuff. Cal Kestis has duked out and done so much in this 2 games and a novelization that I don't even think it's even funny. And I just feel like Cal will beat him. I think from like a consistent board, because Cal just has better feats. He has better scaling. He has better statements. He should win. But if we're going off of just like, possibility for situation, it's a very contingent fight. I think Cal will win though most of the time because again his better preference and capabilities. A lot of his force mix-ups, to slow down time. He has obviously tapping into the force. He has multiple ways to possibly beat him. And there's just a lot of ways he could counteract his stuff. Anakin as a Padawan though, I think the reason be here because better stand for standard makes him fight other people as well. And just how he's been able to do things in comparison. I think that's simply put in a lot of his mixed different occasions. That not only he's of better mixed merit and different stand for how he goes about fighting in different plethora, but as well, this is a better pool of mixed different statements, height and hail, mixed confident, more standing to different scenarios, even though he did get greater clapped by Count Dooku, the fact that he was able to stand mixed in tandem with Obi-Wan and was better than what Obi-Wan was as a Padawan in comparison, I think puts him here. Obi-Wan of mixed technical conflicted, but fighting Anakin, right? I think at this time, mainly because of the mixture of mixed kind of confliction and kind of weaker body like standing, would be here still be better than Anakin. And with this version, Anakin probably home back into, his greater capabilities. But there's every aspect of the capability for him to be kind of mixed standing to his, Padawan because of this. But I think because of all the skill and every standing that he has and just everything that was shown, he's very great to be here and how he all around is as a person. Now, be Kenobi or Kenobi at the end of his tenure should be here not only as being a greater master, greater skill and tale, how he was seen, and the fact that even though he did get all around cut down by Darth Vader, the fact that he was able to give him any sentiment of a grand all around fight, and even though Darth Vader was no longer a bigger character and this version of Kenobi was weaker, I do see an argument to say that he should be here mainly by how much prevalence of great skill that he was even at this time. The 10th brother though, right, should be easily here and accounting for not only in title, he is a member of, obviously, the Sisterhood. He has very good capabilities, he's very skilled, very terrifying, has a plethora of great maneuvers to get around, but every other mixed brother and sister should be here, all in tie with the fact that these people are like the greatest of the order. They have greatest plethora and tale of skill. They have better feats to showcase the very admirable mixed different capable people, being either Ahsoka, Darth Maul, fighting against great case of people, and all have some type of surviving and standing. They're the most badass, useful, uncomparable, built different stances of people, and they all are highest fame individuals of their order. They just have better scaling chain, more skilled, more in greater usage, and it just showcase a lot more to really kind of feel like greater establish a sentiment that they are a lot more higher end than anyone else, and they are the top of the line of the Inquisitors, and are in greater reference for when Darth Vader says, "It is delusion to think you have any consequence. The Inquisitors still finish the work, and I have come for you." Badass, the Black Dread. But yeah, simple as that. But the person being overall, in my opinion, in a one-on-one, is Qui-Gon Jinn, not only because of his standing and scale, to be at a point where Obi-Wan saw him in higher standing. He was able to survive a decent mixed encounter against Darth Maul. He was duking out a little bit more better against Darth Maul in the fight that he had against him in the Duel of the Fates. He as well is a very skilled accolade person, was in high standing of like not only remembrance and as well fondness in the talk of the order, and is a guy that I feel like should be respected for multiple occasions in his different standing as a high-end order, warrior, wielder, master Jedi for a reason. And Qui-Gon Jinn was definitely an honorable sense of person. He did get, unfortunately, slew by this man Darth Maul, but still very skilled in every argument. Obi-Wan Kenobi, though, in basically the stance of him basically coming into full greater master and mentor, right? We should be here, not because he'd be better than his Padawan self, but has come to the point where he's stated to be basically on the same plane as his master was, and is a way more not only experienced, seasoned, and capable individual, has every argument and foundation in his character and poured in every aspect of his veins to be a highly established, not only great Force wielder, but as well Master Jedi. Him now at this point being of a higher plane, mixed bag in skill, but still being older and no longer being in comparison, right, as greater mix, in different force and maybe mixed movement, is still highly established, skilled regiment. And at this point, even though it is coming to that point where in the story it will come to this point, he doesn't have exact statements about that version being that much more weaker. And I feel like just how he's been able not only to, in different occasions in that mixed cycle of time, and how he did this man Darth Maul, even if again within the context was better, he still was a very capable standing, and like other people of his mixed age at this time, was still someone to be in revered standing, and Obi-Wan was still somebody not to be trifled with, and was a very highly adept swordsman, with that being said. But Sin Orlangi and Shak Ti should kind of be in the same standing as being both two high, definitive, highly acclaimed, Master Jedi, different Force wielders, skilled individuals, people that not only were seen in high respectable favor by mixed order, were in different mixed usages and different core established points, people that not only one of them, Darth Maul, killed as being one of the greatest people in his body count, aka in this case being, one of the people under his belt in slaying, but as well another that was seen in higher mixed de facto standing to a different mixed height in time of others, and was a guy said to be greater than Qui-Gon Jinn in pretty much upper echelon of the masters and people. Next we have everybody of this man Mace Windu's squad that went to go and fight Palpatine, being slain or not, or put down by a bunch of fucking random record of, convenience of death, right? AKA a case of the people in counting that were slain by a bunch of different mixture of stormtroopers, different unfortunate conviction of killing, and put down mixture of this man Palpatine going entirely apeshit and just slaying a bunch. We have Kual Mundi, Plo Koon, Sasi Tin, Plo Koon of a different mixed point in time. That's in the case for his end-all tenure. Some of the Clone Wars, you can mix and dabble between them. Kid Fisto, all that shit. They should just all be roundabout in that argument for capable people. I think Kid Silvitzo should be easily the strongest because he survived the longest and was actually having some mixed dialogue here and there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Clone Wars mixed with the case of his Revenge of the Sith, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Kenobi Show should all be a mixed cycle of argumentation to be highly skilled. Obi-Wan was greater than all these people because of the type of rank and standing he had within the council, and was pretty much third greatest. He fought against not only Anakin of mixed confliction twice, fought in greater mixed standing. When he actually got his footing and got better ground of understanding and wasn't being cocky or mixed scenario or whatever, he fought greater. He was able to fight Darth Maul and Savage even with mixed context, and was very much standing toe-to-toe, stand for stand, ball for ball, bang for bang in multiple occasions, and is easily one of the most highest studious famed masters. But this will never be better than the Jedi lightsaber collector, the famed Scourge of the Order, the famed terrifying, undeniably, uncomparable, absolutely terrifying, nightmare of nightmares, my nigga. The type of person that every Jedi fears in every waking moment. The famed Droid Dread. I'm talking about the Decepticon, moving like a spider, swirl twisty, Omni-Droid level demon. The Jedi Gauntlet nigga. I'm talking about the motherfucking Jedi Infinity Stone Collector. Bodies at the bodies and pile of this man's wake. General motherfucking Grievous, absolute demon. Lock this devil of a droid up. He is no one to play around with. Fucking Ultron of Star Wars is one capable killer. Has been taught in multiple aspects to be an ultimate fucking not only killing machine, to put down multiple Jedi. Took on Jedi's multiple at once. Took out countless different famed odds. Is commented by Count Dooku to be grade A killer. Took out this man Darth Maul's mom in very much great context. Was able to survive a great force push by the dude. Was able to take out multi different runaround of individuals. Stood toe to toe in different mixed occasions of fighting standing to other people. Was able to bang out to the most hellish built different regard in regards to be Clone Wars, a different version of him in animation or in live action. General Grievous is the highest standing of force, not only will without even actually having it, as this motherfucker just with lightsaber sensitivity is able to just shred and absolutely dominate in so many intricate, creative case of matter of ways to absolutely slaughter multi different poor of Jedi. I mean, he's just absolutely in the mind of multiple different crazed instances of individuals to where you could just blister through and body multiple occasions of different people. That's not even funny, and is one of the most crazily adept, stylistically punishing, dominating foes that you could even comprehend in any case of situation. Absolute, uncomparable slaughterer and dominated in every escapade. Persistent, demon, General Grievous, more like General Malice. The motherfucker is not anyone to be put down for, and you could chop it up to mix different visual setting, but the fact this man can crawl on all fours, man can pour different mixtures on walls, don't even use the force like I said, but it reps in all essence of what it means to have the forces uncanny, undivided, tricking in multi different form of unique twandy, twisting, bianticular adjustment to shit. The nigga out here roping his body around like a motherfucking twister mobile. The dude literally is built like a car coming at you at 1,000 miles per hour with that black noir-ism, my nigga. Remember when this motherfucker fought Count Dooku and he twists his body in 4 different intricate dimensional ways that he basically cracked off his lightsabers in 2 different forms? How do you try to slash somebody and you catch your lightsabers backwards mid-slash? The nigga's crazy, so he should be easily demonstrably at the top in greater boast, but Count Dooku as a youngin', cultivating a new image within the case of the Force to be used in more harsher environments, to come into the dark side. Should be here. His skill was very high in standing there. He was a high claim master. He's a build different dude. And Count Dooku, or Darth Tyrannus later, was already a high standpoint of not only ridiculous sentiment of individual, to where he is uncomparable, to say the least, in different mixed skill timing, to where, because he taught General Grievous a greater collection of different not only knowledge and shit along those lines, is where I would like to go ahead and say most proudly he stands of higher instance, but because he has done better not only in his prime, but if it makes it claim and showcasings, but as well in other stuff. And I think not only because of better feats, shining and everything, and as well a lot of not only most claim higher instance of standing of this man, Darth Tyrannus / Count Dooku, is sealed in the fact of him obviously, of course, being obviously a lot more stronger and capable in all different acclaim when he's older. But I think when he was young, a lot of his sword skill is as much peak, but obviously there are people who just have better accoladed mixed sword skill to be better than him, while Count Dooku has more seasoned him. You know what I'm saying? Self in different argument, but still, Mace Windu will be here as just a Jedi Knight. This is pretty much him after the fact of not only infamously slaying this man Jango Fett, Boba Fett's father, but at the same time, in different form, to fully speak, because then they got something in his throat, man, to speaking so long on some fucking water, but to fully configure my point in most concrete, concise, defined matter, as always, you know, what a nigga being prone to do that, with all his greater case of, you know, education to be taken in mind, but suffice to say, as a big, you know, precise lines, what nigga do, simply put, no more, like, lollygagging, is the fact that Mace Windu, again, after infamously big slicing the head off this man, Jango Fett, and being a Jedi Knight, and having just accounting of being a high-standing solidification of greater a Force wielder, and coming into the greater escapades of being one of the most highest grand scope pillars of Jedi fortitude and capability, would be argument to be a lot more higher within this tier, even above. But I think Mace Windu does a significant and astronomical boost in feats, accolades, statements, and even technique that kind of slates him as being of a higher mixed standing. And I think everyone above that you see on this tier, not only from here and going further, this is a better established legacy and line of different scaling that I think will give them proud perception and ordeal to solidly give them the credibility and accountability of like being just higher standing. And again, like I said, this is where Mace Windu will be after, again, the efficient, you know, most greatest dabble in really holding the candle of Jedi boss to the most highest degree. I mean, this is Galactic Afro Samurai right here, played by the GOAT. This man, you know, fame, arguably, besides Nick Fury for some people, most, you know, popular role, as at the end of the day, right, this man Mace Windu or Samuel Jackson is always goated in those parts. But again, this is Jedi Knight Mace Windu. Obviously, there's an obvious Mace Windu by a little bit of the tier shown above. It's way more higher. I'm going to get to that. But again, Mace Windu as a Jedi Knight of highest acclaim, and after, again, highly acclaimed, nefariously big swapping the head off of this man Jango Fett, greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Remember, a different point, right? Should put him here. But then Sierra Junda of her early mixed master to mentor days, Sierra Junda of Jedi Survivor, right, going further into play would be, you know, obviously stronger, but her of her mentor great days to her of Jedi Fallen Order, and going into the dark side and Fallen Order, and then where she becomes fully a whole new claim, great A master, to even on mix pushing the tier of grandmasters where she would be. So again, not only is she already a standpointed, highly claimed, greater foreshowing of a master, capable person in her days as not only a Jedi master, and not only the flashbacks, every highlighted form of her character and different descriptions, showcasings, she stood very highly acclaimed as being a full-fledged, fully solidified, grade A warrior and combatant of different talk of the Force. And even in the case of just Jedi, you know, Fallen Order, She already, with shot proficiency and experience, was already a whole different level of beast. When she tapped into the dark side to break free a different form case of not only violence to the most heavy regard, she used a Inquisitor or whatever different case of Empire dark saber level of like timing, and with ease just ran through countless different array of different people with no problem. And the thing about Seer Junda, rest in peace to Seer, GOAT, for standing 10 toes against Darth Vader like that. Most peakest clashes of, Star Wars easily. Shorty, again, with a fucking red lightsaber on some dark saber shit, ran across million people with great ease, wielding it with no real conviction, was full unrelenting in different dabbles of that. And so, because of that, from her kind of exploring more greater boost of her dark side capabilities and using it to better mix force, confines of scaling, because with the force, not only was she able to make this man Darth Vader take a knee, which takes a lot of not only force pressure, because Darth Vader used the force as a greater leverage to move with a lot more mobility, efficiency, better, agileness, and like it's a second, like I guess, steer for him in his very much, refrigerator body. The fact that from her, again, mentor, master days into the case of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to, again, greater sense, like I said, and Survivor from that going further, right? That is where she would kind of be most complex standing. But when she fights Darth Vader, aka pre her death against Darth Vader in Peak Clash, she not only was giving this man Darth Vader by this time probably one of his greatest fights, but easily withstanding high claim of not only built different escapade and bar for different dabbles of fighting prowess. She is not only a very great skilled individual, she's not one to not only play around with, she's a very skilled, dynamic, capable woman, and is somebody to, again, respect. She's out here doing multi-different moves and showcasings of not only force technique, from force fields, bubbles, different telekinesis, force pull, can fuck people up in multiple unique ways, is out dodging, out mixing up, parrying, is out duking Darth Vader in some different mixed confines of conviction, and was definitely giving him great deal of not only work. And again, if it wasn't for the scenario, I still think she would have given him one hell of a fight. But you can't chop it up to contextual means, using a weakness of Darth Vader, because Darth Vader does have a weakness to not only force lightning, different elemental mix attacks, and it's mainly because of his body. It's not really Anakin, because physically he's still strong. It's just it hinders some of his different mixed matter of movement. She still was strong enough to greater rank with him, right? And she is not only using a greater power than the case of arguably what she was using before, because you have to understand, I talked about it before, but simply put, the fact is that the dark side, unironically, is the weaker side of obviously light and dark. When she uses the dark side, it's a lot more easy to access. The dark side is not stronger, it is more easy. It's more easy for the fulfilling of that lust for power. With that, she was able to hinder the greater movement of him, but when she was over here rocking with him on the right side, the greater case side, the greater sense of the side of yin and yang, she was out here fully lightly dueling him and out-dueling him in multiple forms of mixed different occasions. Not mean that she's greater than him or stands as good as him, because remember, I'm going to go about greater explaining the greater arguments of it, but the fact that she was even able to mix bang out and have some massive, actually a great fight with him. Like, they were actually full throwing different high disputable, let's say on the greater run of like his resume, right? Hands, but we're definitely throwing down to the best sense of the way. There's no debate that Seer Judah was giving a great deal of different mix-ups and occasional clashes like never seen before. Seer Judah, right, was not only doing something that, again, most people couldn't do, but the fact that this man Anakin, aka Darth Vader, was over here being mixed suppressed, wasn't taking her too seriously, was going to go about the common, aura farming, out whacking. The fact that even with him doing some of that, and again doing some different out styling, dominating, dice and slice, mixed dabbling of different crossroads and duking with him, and dunking with multi different mixtures of, the lightsaber, and kind of just halting after him in different mixed dosages of mixed lightsaber run, makes in every confines. I feel like what she does way more greater than a lot of people, because again, she did something of high striking, of greater Jedi wield and force usage that again most niggas can't even comprehend. So again, I know this kind of longer talk of Seirdrea, but again, I'm hoping I'm really stamping full heavily not only how great she was in different talk of her mentor days, to Jedi Fallen Order, to her greater case of dark side usage, and then on the greater side, rocking with Darth Vader, again outdoing him, outslapping him, doing different mixture of shit that would greater cultivate an argument for her to really be one of the highest de facto force wielders, dominating in different argument of different pit for pit sword play, and getting to the point where she was full ready to hold greater case dunk on this nigga with the case of lightsaber and spear through him, and only arguably got that mixed position from a bad sense of timing, which is reasonable to counteract her greater mixed skill foreshowing. It still puts her in one of the highest fame X arguments of skill timing than any other person. But the man that would stand at a higher rules of not only menace, full-fledged, every fooling of every aspect of what it means to be one of the most uncomparably unstoppable ultimate cruisers of the dark side, the man that put Ahsoka on full-fledged fraud watch. We have Baylan Skoll, who easily is one of the most skilled claimed not only force wielders, swordsmen, capable people. RIP to the GOAT, Ray Stevenson. He's undeniably so decisively a strike of every essence of a demon with his blade, was able to not only defy the odds with Ahsoka 2 to 3 times, and as a guy with just this skill accolades and showcasing experience and form, not only foreshowing that to me, with even Ahsoka, that obviously I have a lot more higher for multiple reasons, because it's basically post everything, and the fact that she faced someone a lot more stronger, in this case being Darth Vader, obviously. The fact that Baylan Skoll is able to checkmate some different archetypes of a mixed different timing of, yes, a Ahsoka with multiple different contexts and reasons for where she is, and not being as great skilled and capable as she would later most prominently be. This man is still that higher form of not only capability, and the fact that Ahsoka at different mixed points is able to rock not only with Darth Maul, rock with Darth Vader on Nexuses and planes, even if this person and this guy isn't trying to fully go out against her. The fact that he's able to stand strong A in that sort slams him as being easily one of the most highest credible faces of this type of fighting stand that no one else can deny. So yeah, like it's simple as that. Baylan Skoll is as high end on that factor. Darth Bane, though, not only in name, would give every reckon like Cad Bane to be easily one of the most highest swordmen of skill, accolade, and prevalence of different, crazy maneuvers and killer tides, but is just so crazy, was pretty much cultified and being one of the most biggest steppers of the Sith Order, was a demon in multiple different archetypes of things, is pretty much I would consider the Rampage Jackson mixed with Atrocitus of the Sith Order, because again, how crazy and out of this world his skills and other shit is. The fact that he was able to stamp his foot so heavily upon every other back of a person in the order, possibly, if he wanted to go ahead and, pull different moves of different higher merit than everyone else and have no consequences. He pretty much was a bully of the Sith in different argument. I think reasonably rectifies him being here. He has a whole different gargantuan flow and prevalence of fury. He is again highly respected, highly feared, highly crazed. His potential is out of this world. He's one of the greatest, not only force wielders and capable people of the Sith in different tides, and as a person was more than a Sith assassin. He was more than a Sith dread. He was more than a Sith master. I would argue that he was a Sith motherfucking beast of a whole different wild escapade, right? Where, in this sense, Darth Bane could be argued, if you believe that he just had this unbelievable, unconvictionably, unequivocal different balance for power, that he was pretty much a great mixture of like the Ra's al Ghul with every sting of what it meant to have that Khotun Khan level of cunning, effortless, ruthless ordeal of killer efficiency that would be able to pretty much slaughter, everybody out of commission, full slaughter every person that got in his way. Again, stepping his whole greater case of not only back on the backs of these different people, that were of different high order standing. And what I mean by that, because it might sound like repetition and mixed formation, all these different speaking, because I'm not trying to speak dramatically, but there's a lot of things to greater be said, is the fact that he could lay waste to a lot of different people if he wanted to, by all the talk and ordeal of not only his standing in the case of the Order, how he was unbeknownst to a lot of people because of his immense power, basically being seen like the mesmer of the Order, and then by different potential, stood so highly famed and powerful that ain't nobody could stand to him. He could pretty much just stamp his foot firmly on the back and the necks and crush anybody before him, flatline them, and stamp greater form his whole back upon the back of different people, right, that came before him, and after, because of the fact that, again, in the case of the slang and notion, he was so powerful that ain't nobody could ever dare reach to his same height for a very long lasting of time because of how much of a great enforcer he was. And with all this being said, stamping again his back against multiple people would make him be, hypothetically, right, one of, if not the biggest, scary threat upon all of it. I mean, it's unironic when you have a name like Darth Bane, and again, I don't want to be on repetition, but if your whole entire connotation of existence is pretty much being able to levy every possible level of pain against a person, and again, stamp your foot down upon people, Omni-Man walk niggas down, and it's again, stamp fully your whole fucking back upon different people, would make him be a person that couldn't even actually be toppled or any possible thing. And it took a great deal of greater context and a lot of mystery to put him down. And the only reason why I don't put him higher is because greater feats and mixed scaling. And this is just giving him his highest ordeal of statements. Because a low level of the fact that this guy is kind of a little bit in ghoulish territory where it's kind of unbeknownst, where he could greater mix scale beyond, again, the statements of, again, his high esteem, power, ritual, the type of position that Palpatine had him in, where against a lot of different ordeal of people, he was just of higher grand scope and had skill foreshowing possibly to be displayed of being pretty much death incarnate, right? Basically the Reaper of the Sith, and again, stamping his foot heavily on the necks of people, basically being like the Sith destroyer, stamping again his back against the backs of multiple different people that came against him and kind of just couldn't be defeated in any different prevalence. But the Grand Inquisitor is easily said to be next to Asajj Ventress, in the words of Count Dooku in skill, is the highest of the Inquisitors. It's basically the highest in the mixed tail of the Empire. Has a better job, better porridge, a different scaling, and different tail merit. Survive a blow from a person in weaker standing like Third Sister, but still of great equivalent. Is very not only skilled, crazed in different mixture of the Force, is very not only highly established person. As being the Great Inquisitor, he has actual knowledgeable statement provided that he's not only over every last one of the people below him, but because he's even near the zero sentiment of level of being a high master of the Sith, by the words of Count Dooku, and is a guy that ain't nobody for a great vast runaround of their different scale and arguments could take out, because he just had the most audacious, persistent, predominant threat level oozing every record of his being, basically being like the Sith syndrome out here, staples him as being one build different individual, right? Asanji Ventress, though, will be over, not because she is the student to this man, Count Dooku, but has better skin, foreshown, a different standing, like in a mixed standing to this man, Obi-Wan and Anakin, mixed Savage, Count Dooku, different mixed dabble, different scale for scale, pit for pit, ball for ball, level fighting prowess, was mixed going to come into a greater case of Darth person herself, but because of the rule of the Darths, couldn't fully actually stand as that. And with that being said, right, was always seen as a person that great potential could be to a greater argument principle to be on this level, but the fact that she was able to be defeated by somebody that's already in mixed contingent argument against this man, and as well got more easily full-fledged failed against somebody like that, I, to me, think that's a lot more consistent. Now, for the case of the greater tier, with this being said, we're almost done with this. Someone's head is bitter fucking hurting for all this, because even though this shouldn't be as long as others, I wouldn't be surprised if reasonably said it's going to push like 3-4 fucking hours. It is what it is. But we have Grandmaster Jedi / Sith Grandmaster / High Dueler / Force Wielder. This, obviously, accounting for all the highest esteem mixed tale of not only Force Wielders, Force capable people, the highest ordeal of Jedi and Sith, and the most named and respected people. The bottom is going to be Darth Tyrannus at a point in time, being the Revenge of the Sith. Mixed the Clone Wars, kind of be mixed interchangeable. I mainly say with the Clone Wars that he's better because of many different orchestration, counting of feats, capabilities, and mixed standing to Yoda at a different mixed taking point, capabilities of that sort. His skill, training, the mixed stand of his type of like rivalry to mixed Maul, and as well Savage Opress. But Savage Opress will be over not only because of his mixed pair for pair standing with this man Maul, having a little bit of decent standing against someone like Palpatine, even if he did get pretty much all around effortlessly bodied. His force control, his rage, his wrath, his untamed, build different mixed fury, and having every essence of being pretty much the flave dread of every aspect of his being, and pretty much going whole Marius Titus on back-to-back foes, and having a uncomparable level of prodigy and herald of the Force that was so monumentally terrifying. It put everybody in a fright like never seen, and he was just objectively a terrifying problem. But I think people with better skill, better season of skill with the Force would just best him, like Ahsoka Tano, in this case being her mid-different mixed point of the Clone Wars, aka the famed Ahsoka rocking not only against a Darth Maul that was testing her, but as well mixed talk of this man Darth Maul and this man Darth Vader in different mixed very convictional points. She's one of the most highly adept skilled Jedi Masters. It's one build different case of Waman. You have the case of Goat Tano standing 10 toes, one of the greatest to the greatest, dual wielding mixed different fling of different hands, shorty, and just stuck to a way better person, a person that not only saw her in greater skill standing, but even Darth Vader had mixed problems against when she was fighting him on a better playing field, which was the dark nexus of not only the Force. Darth Maul, though, with the Duel of the Fates and him in Clone Wars with just his robot, ass legs, right? Not just his robot, custom legs, but more like Roblox like legs. Because this motherfucker with his legs, I'm sorry, I understand, the nigga got cut in half. But my lord, bro, them legs is giving every screaming of basically having like the fucking, I forgot the fucking name of the birds, but pretty much them giant stick figure leg birds. My man got flamingo legs, bro. Like Roblox, legs are not big, robust guy. Darth Maul looking like a whole fucking zebra. He's not only so great a skill within Duel of the Fates, and if it wasn't for the context of being not only so, hubris and arrogant, he let himself get caught lacking and caught himself off guard, right? And as well being 2v1 in the mixed situational mixed standing, and the argument for again being too flamboyant, he would have lost. But he has every statement, every acclaim, every feat, every scaling chain up until this point that I've talked about in Greater Ordeal that stains him as being one of, if not the ultimate Sith killer, the ultimate dominator, the most undeniably so uncomparable killer of all killers when it comes down to the Sith. And with Darth Maul, again, the chicken wing legs was being said, bro, bark legs, right? The dude is one uncomparable, ruthless tides of a Force wielder and killer. But I think that his wanted apprentice in Ahsoka Tano, being of the time when she faces a greater mixed version of this man Darth Vader in different parts of Rebels, and where she would be at in the Ahsoka show for now, would be here not only because of greater skill, better honing and convictionable comparison and capability within her skills, a better tango with different people, having a better mastery of the Force, way more experience, older, stronger, better, all that stuff, and would just be of a higher standing than the case of mixed versions of Darth Maul. That again should be very highly adept in every standing of skill. That is kind of like a mixed conquest scenario where you could argue mixed with the pride and situational stand, and the fury of Darth Maul being too insatiable to relent. That maybe he could be lower depending on how you perceive the pride, but I think he very much has every argument to be right here. But then Darth Tyrannus, with greater usage and his iconic spam of Force Lightning, I think would be here. Obviously, it's a mixed argument to use it and mix back with the two other versions, but it's not in character general standing for him to do that. And in this version, he greater springs about this shit to hurt you on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. And with this Force Lightning, Mix was already great at skill, and this is the Darth Tyrannus that would duke out with Yoda of a greater time in live action, and as well just is way more experience and is way more better capabilities, and is the Darth Tyrannus of greater chronological time and showcasing. I think has every argument to most prolifically stand highest order of high-end menace and pillar of not only Sith Grand Mastery. Him versus Darth Maul is already a controversial one-up fight in the community, but I think Darth Maul has a greater taking of not only scale chain, skill, capability to push past the Force Lightning, not only by deflecting it, by the mixed skill, bravado, and capability of him. He also as well has great decent durability towards it, depending how you feel in the mixed argument of stun, that he could still push past. His skill, capability to stand toe-to-toe to Darth Sidious with a stronger version of himself that we see where he's at, would very much give every argument to me to stand of a higher mixed standing and ordeal than in comparison him. I also just see the fact that because of how he was set and compared to be more of the ultimate praise apprentice in person, the fact that Darth Sidious went out of his way to fight him himself, regardless if you think he was out of the luxury to slay his ex-apprentice or because he believed more proudly that he could defeat him, the fact that he was able to in any way stand a Darth powerful team, stand to Darth Sidious, and face him to these lengths that no other person could, to me, gives every reasonable argument to say that he, Darth Maul, is indeed a built different crimson and black dread that even the famed Smiter and Darth Tyrannus could not fully defeat just off of that. There's also the fact that he's just grown a lot more strong up until the mixed take of this point. He's outdone better mixer than people. He has always been stronger than his older brother in comparison in different mixed arguments. So I just feel like with that being said, he would just best him a lot of the time. But yeah. But Luke Skywalker of his pre-fight against this man Darth Vader, and then kind of Luke Skywalker of the greater canon legacy and him showcasing, his build different skills in the Mandalorian, right, would be here. The Chosen One, full coming into his great green sage and uncomparable found spirit of the Force should be here. But he would be felled by his daddy, the ex-Chosen One, with Anakin Skywalker, the original GOAT of Clone Wars, and before his confliction within the greater time of the Revenge of the Sith, should easily be stapled here as being the highest order of his pinnacle Jedi warrior. Darth Vader, though, being of his comic book run, coming into his greater mixed time of facing Craig and Vela, and as well defeating the case of Great Dark Moment at a different point, which I even fucking forgot about that nigga, and where I would greater put him in comparison, which for the record would be here over Asadi Ventress because he's fought, him, I don't even know if I have him in different mixture or I put him somewhere and motherfucker forgot, but that's where it would be. I'm not changing this motherfucking tier list. It doesn't matter. I can spoil the ending half. It doesn't matter though. At the end of the day, he, because being newly used and new accustomed to his body, would be here, and even with that, still showed great capability to push past great odds and people, and was very much a high vintage, not only warrior and equivalent to like Darth Bane, was able to step 10 toes upon multiple people, crush them, run through them entirely, lay a whole new level of demolition upon people, and stamp his back fully against the back of other people, like I said with Darth Bane, and greater crack down on those different corners of different stand for stand contingent, and fully, without needing to, like Darth Bane, stamp his back against, in comparison, others in different form of, power stand, was able to greater flush them out in comparison, right? So, yeah, him, in the case for Obi-Wan show, considering him without the mixed bag confliction or not, was still a stronger standing than Obi-Wan, and it's only because of Anakin's emotions did he get put down, and without that withdrawal, I believe he would still win, and without confliction, without any of that, would seal the deal with him being a lot more stronger. Now, I know this might be another case of thing, like Darth Maul against Darth Tyrannus, another mixed wild take, but it has been very much multiple times sealed in every aspect of the scaling narrative that Kylo Ren of this mixed time within the sequels and his greater time with using the dark side is still reasonable to say is beyond his famed relative in Anakin, and is a higher grade A boast and crucium of skill and capabilities than whatever Darth Vader at these times could have an argument to scale to, as not only does he rival a greater confidant of not only the Force, but as well pillars in a whole different stand of skill showcasing and capabilities that even Luke Skywalker says, and multiple other scaling chains, that Kylo Ren is highest in there as pretty much being the warmonger to Darth Vader's Apollyon, and should be standing very high in essence of skill regard and repertoire in comparison. When he's on the light side, he should just be one up in everything that stuff is to a higher standing. Then we have Rey Skywalker, fully trained, basically posted the greater sense of the sequels to a higher de facto stand of skill, complexity, and porridge of different capabilities. When she is amped by a greater means of the Force, she would just be standing a little bit over that and still be highest proxy of different skill plane. But then with Sheev Palpatine, when he is full coming into the greater sense of the dark side and being a traitor to the High Republic and different other things of that sort, would be over just because of how highly compared as being pretty much every aspect of what all his students were to a higher de facto perplexness of the Force would put him there by extension. And I don't even think as much of the amp that Rey got to her greater honing of her skills that she would actually be on the same level as him, as he was just on a whole greater esque bar. You know what I'm saying? Would it come down to his rivalry in the Force in comparison, and was a being of ridiculous wreckage on people. Karakafella pretty much was, and to me, every essence of like the Shijinko, the Force, master of all different dabbles of shit, was giving a whole new level of not only devastating ass whooping to Darth Vader, he was giving belt to ass, and was a guy that Darth Vader never could even perceive at different mixed points in time, as he was just a built different, not only master, craftsman of different Force, and was built different in almost every accolade of the sort. Luke Skywalker, as a greater grandmaster and mentor, should easily be stapled as pretty much being Ezio-like shit when it comes down to the Force. Him of the sequels should just be upper hand and greater honing of the greater light side. Darth Maul mixed with the dark saber should be an uncomparable, unrivaled, deterred, demonic, evaporating force and eviscerator, tearing through people with a dark saber like no other, and relishing in the hatred of every aspect of his conviction like never seen. It's such a terrifying matter that he moved like a living fucking wrathful incarna like never seen. But Mace Windu of the Clone Wars and his greater mixed vato form should be higher standing, not only from his skill, rocking with a Palpatine of greater mixed skill merit to make arguably say, and as well standing to Mace, not only, that in comparison, right, would not be of the greater skill that he has not only performed and explored, but as well, is a guy that has showcased in the fight that he was able to give Darth Sidious the greatest fight that he had probably at that point in comparison, because not even, I would argue, Yoda beat him that bad, arguably. And Mace Windu being literally second to Yoda, he was the second greatest of the entire Case of Council. He was a highest standing, affluent Case of member, and with his form and mixed again with the fact of obviously, Mace Windu case of like not only standing to a greater mix of like, matter of Palpatine, that in comparison, Palpatine, like I said, stand to a better mix of Mace Windu that was rivaling, every essence and greater aspect of, force and skill format. That to me, again, with no repetition, was one of the most highest form of not only stupendous accolade of skill, that if it wasn't for the mixed, arguably unironic, random, just whirlwind of force, ooga booga-ness, random fucking Odin force shout, he wouldn't be over. And then, with that being said, because of just skill for skill, he decisively bested him. And if again it wasn't for force intervention by the most random hang of not only, collision from a great dark side usage of this man Palpatine, and just him being a crazed force pillar in his own right, to where you can kind of just, randomly just churnal bong summon a wild essence of sorcery out of nowhere. Mace Windu would more convictionally in all confines, concretely, all around best Palpatine, and again was close to splitting his fucking neck open right then and there. But Master Yoda in all four of his greater Case of versions, being Clone Wars, be it against this man Count Dooku, Mixed Rebellion, or against Palpatine, should stand as easily the highest order, not only Force wielder in that form, but with no repetition, a more sound, definitive stand, is beyond just being the Grand Master, but is an absolute, uncomparable sage. Divinity of the Force, is a class act of rack of all trades, highest caliber demon with the Force. This nigga was an absolute detriment to the sanity of any player in Soul Calibur 4. But our famed Green Gremlin is a built different status quo of sword play and capability, and should be respected as being easily one of the highest instance of sword wielders, capable people, and others of that same sort, and stood top of the line, grade A warrior and factor of play in multiple things more than anyone else. But the man that would be over him multiple times predominantly would be the Black Dread and suppress going all out form, especially against Yoda and anyone else here, being from Darth Vader or Star Wars Fallen Order, Survivor, this man of New Hope, this man of Mixed Rebels as well. If in the case of the Empire Strikes Back, he would be just so much more higher, fully being more accustomed to his body, using the Force to greater craze means, utilizing every department of his greater Force showing and boast and power, being a whole different ooze of terror, a dominator, absolute whole new fling of abomination level craze, of absolutely uncomparable rage and wrath, and wrecking every fabric of existence that makes every single one of these beings absolutely obsolete, which is tapping into all different plethora of greater instances of power, having successoring more better, and with this body with better not only conviction and usage of the dark side, with better durability, better sense of resilientness, and better record of not only feats and scaling, would stand in a whole different higher tier than in comparison a lot of these people he used to be side by side with, neck and neck, or even considered higher masters. Then Darth Plagueis, because of the case of similar statements at one point being basically Darth Vader of an ancient time, and being, I'm pretty sure, the original Darth before mixed talk of Palpatine would be here, because he basically was every talk of what Darth Vader and a different instance of what makes Darth Sidious who he was on a way more whoppy-doo scale. And the only reason he would be one below the greater Darth Vader as this is Darth Vader with no sentiment of confliction, no pullback, no capability for downform or drive. This is Darth Vader pretty much at his highest ordeal of potential. This is a bloodlusted Vader. This is Vader polarizing blacker force energy and absolute terror in comparison. But the person I think that will go against every odd of these people will be the mother of Darth Maul, the famed, ultimate, absolutely uncomparable in every affinity of not only devastating drive for magic, plain, set, and simple, Mother Towson, mother of chaos. Her sorcery, her standing to this man Palpatine, having contingency with him, gracing this man Darth Maul with gifts, strengths, and amps that he could never understand, being the queen pretty much of the Night Sisters and what she could not only show from a comic book perspective is considered, as she has so many different techniques, so many things to be considered in comparison to Night Sister Marin on a way more heavy regard, and the fact that she was pretty much just always in bonkers standing in comparison, as within her own station she hold power that had rivalry to the highest order of the Force and was very skilled and very capable. And I just think that with her sorcery, every aspect of her magic, every gift, every pore of different mixture of shit, and how she stood in different sword technique, pit for pit against others, that she is a very admirable sword skilled wielder, is a very highly crazy, out of this world take of magic, and any person that stands against her is going to be feeling a whole different level of wrathful intention, wrathful admission, level of decimation. Shawty is a plague of powerhouseness in every case of fame. Not only the counter that she has, her big stand to Mace Windu, her type of department of power stand and staple in comparison to Maul and Savage, the fact that she's the greatest of the Jedi, Night Sisters in every case person in comparison, most likely that could be inhaling to that planet in any other situation that compare, is just a build different case of woman, and is a pillar of every fabric of what it means to be pretty much, to me, an absolute distinction. Basically be the Star Wars version of the Ancient One, and just be a radically, wildly versatile compoundment of every dominating force collision form that is boasted to the most highest perplexness of magic like never seen. But the next tier is Force Pillar, having every version of Darth Sidious and every combination of great skill, shining, narrative, force techniques and usages like never seen, force lightning of the most crazed regard, the father who's easily one of the most knowledgeable person in the verse, that was way more highly esteemed, knowledgeable, and capable than any other person without showing it, knew about the balance of the order, reality, knew about the pocket dimension, has so many hacks capabilities. You have the gods of the Force being the son and the daughter, two forces that are equal to each other, represent the dark side and the light side intricately. Top of the line omniverse, okay, fucking sex, nigga, so tired, and mixes well, trying to get to read this while fucking yawn. I was trying to full grader precisely speak. Top of the line of user of the Force being Darth Vader in his darkened case of pretty much dark side ghost, then this man Luke in his light side ghost, and then Anakin wielding the greater dark side of the Force and being a herald of the Father, using the greater boast of power of God deity, and of course our true Force primordial that's over the top of the line of user of the Force, or different mixed talk line, cusp of basically being a true greater Force God, or again top of the line Omniforce user, right? Is of course our baby cosmic celestial hydrogen bomb, or Alien X Grogu. That's the end of the tier list. I'm not doing another one of these again. I am tired. I feel like I've spoken in most greater detail and all around concise, concrete, defined, great overview and all around relay of these people. Happy motherfucking Halloween. I'll have a fucking Halloween video up and ready for y'all. I'm going to bed. I'm done with this. There's a lovely tier list with all type of fandom and passion and stuff. I don't even know if my man V is still awake in this motherfucker. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I love y'all. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out, my army. Love y'all.